The coffee cup shattered against the floor the exact moment Caleb Reyes made a choice that would rip his ordinary life wide open. Across the café, a woman sat frozen as a man's hand hovered too close to her shoulder, his smile sharp with entitlement. "Come on, just smile." The stranger pressed, leaning closer. Caleb's carpenter rough hands were already moving before his mind caught up, crossing the room in 4 strides, his voice quiet but absolute. "She said no." The harasser's face twisted, then crumbled. He left. The woman looked up, and in her eyes, Caleb saw something he couldn't name yet. Something that would change everything. He didn't know she was Valerie King, the billionaire who could buy his whole neighborhood before breakfast. He just knew someone needed help. If you're watching from New York, Tokyo, Lagos, or a small town nobody's heard of, drop your city in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels. The morning light through kindling coffee's windows hit the espresso machine at an angle that made the whole place look softer than it was. Caleb Reyes sat at his usual corner table, the one with the wobbly leg he'd offered 3 times to fix, for free nursing a black coffee that had gone lukewarm 20 minutes ago. His phone lay face down beside a stack of past due notices he'd tucked into his jacket pocket before Amara could see them at breakfast. 6:45 a.m. 15 minutes before he had to be at the Riverside construction site. 15 minutes of silence before the day demanded everything he had left to give. The cafe door chimed. Caleb didn't look up, not until he heard it. That particular quality of voice that made his shoulders tighten instinctively, the same tone he'd heard in a dozen job sites when someone wanted something they had no right to take. "You here alone?" Caleb's eyes lifted. 3 tables over, a woman sat with her laptop open, her posture so still she might have been carved from marble. She wore simple clothes, dark jeans, a gray sweater that cost either $30 or $3,000, impossible to tell. Her hair was pulled back in a way that suggested she'd stopped caring what people thought about her appearance years ago. She hadn't looked up from her screen. The man leaning over her table had the kind of casual arrogance that came from never being told no. Mid-30s expensive watch cologne that probably cost more than Caleb's monthly rent. His hand rested on the back of her chair like he owned it. "I asked you a question." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Pretty girl like you shouldn't sit alone. Makes people wonder." The woman's fingers stilled on her keyboard. "I'm working." "All work and no play." The man slid into the chair across from her, uninvited, blocking her exit. "Come on, just smile for me. That's not too much to ask, is it?" Caleb watched the woman's jaw tighten, almost imperceptibly. Watched her eyes flick toward the exit, calculating. Watched her make herself smaller in her chair, an involuntary flinch so subtle most people would miss it. He didn't miss it. His coffee cup hit the table harder than he meant to. The sound cracked through the cafe's quiet morning atmosphere like a gunshot. Caleb stood, his 6'2" frame unfolding with the kind of deliberate slowness that made people nervous. His work boots made solid sounds against the floor, heel toe, crossing the distance between his table and hers. "Hey, man." The harasser looked up, irritation flashing across his face. "We're having a conversation here." Caleb stopped at the edge of their table. He didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. "No, you're not." The woman's eyes met his for the first time, sharp, intelligent, assessing. Brown eyes that had seen too much and revealed too little. "Excuse me?" The harasser half stood, puffing up. "Who the hell do you think?" "She said she's working." Caleb's voice stayed level, but something in his posture shifted. His hands hung loose at his sides, relaxed in the way that men who've been in real fights recognize immediately. "She didn't invite you to sit. You're leaving now." The cafe had gone silent. The barista behind the counter froze mid-pour. 2 college students at the window table had their phones out, angles perfect. The harasser's face cycled through confusion, anger, calculation. His eyes took in Caleb's worn Carhartt jacket, the sawdust still clinging to his jeans, the calluses visible on his knuckles. Made a choice. "Whatever, man." She's not even that hot. He grabbed his messenger bag, shouldered past Caleb hard enough to make a point, but not hard enough to commit. Crazy bitch probably has a boyfriend anyway. The door chimed his exit. The cafe exhaled collectively. Caleb turned to the woman already stepping back to give her space, the kind of space that said, "I'm not another threat." "You okay?" She studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded once, precise. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "Yeah, I did." Caleb glanced at his phone. 6:51. "I gotta get to work. You need me to walk you to your car, or—" "I'm fine." Her voice had layers to it, like she was used to meaning one thing and saying another. "Really? Thank you." Caleb nodded and turned to leave. "Wait." He stopped. The woman was reaching for something on the floor beside her chair, a small silver ring with some kind of tech built into it, probably fallen during the confrontation. She held it up. "This yours?" "No, ma'am." She looked at the ring, then at him, something shifting in her expression. "It must have been his. That man's." "You could run it to Lost and Found." Caleb checked his phone again. 6:53. If he didn't leave now, he'd be late, and he couldn't afford late, not with Torres already looking for excuses to cut his hours. "Or toss it. Your call." He made it to the door before the barista called out. "Hey, Caleb." Marco, the owner's nephew, waved from behind the counter. "That was solid, man. Coffee's on me tomorrow." Several customers nodded approval. One of the college students gave him a thumbs-up, phone still recording. Caleb felt his face heat. "Just don't make it a thing." He pushed out into the morning air, already forgetting about it, mind shifting to rebar measurements, and the argument he needed to have with the electrical subcontractor about outlet placements. Behind the glass, the woman watched him go. Watched him stop at a beaten-up Ford pickup truck. Watched him check something in the passenger seat. A child's car seat, faded pink with cartoon unicorns. Watched him pull out his phone and make a call, his whole face softening as he talked to whoever was on the other end. The woman Valerie King, though no one in this cafe knew that name, pulled out her own phone. Dialed a number she never called unless it mattered. "Sophia, I need you to do something for me." "Ms. King." The voice on the other end was crisp, professional, instantly alert, despite the early hour. "Are you all right? Your location shows—" "I'm fine. I need you to look into someone. Quietly. Just background. Safety check." Valerie's eyes tracked Caleb's truck as it pulled into morning traffic. "There was a situation. He helped. I need to know if it was genuine or if he knows who you are." "Yes." Sophia Park, former Secret Service, current head of Valerie's personal security, and the closest thing she had to a friend, made a thoughtful sound. Description: tall, Latino, early 30s, carpenter or construction worker based on the clothes. Drives a, I don't know cars, old Ford truck, blue, license plate. Valerie squinted. "I didn't get it, but he's a regular here. Kindling coffee on Harbor and 7th. The barista called him Caleb." "That's enough. I'll have something for you by noon." "Sophia, keep distance. I don't want him to know he's being checked." "When have I ever been anything but invisible?" Sophia's tone carried the ghost of a smile. "What aren't you telling me?" Valerie looked down at the ring still in her palm. She'd lied. It wasn't the harasser's. It was hers, a prototype panic button her security team insisted she wear disguised as jewelry. It had fallen when she'd flinched, and this stranger had picked it up, handed it back without asking questions, without lingering for gratitude. "He has a kid," Valerie said quietly. "Car seat in the truck. He took a call right after his whole face changed, gentle. Whoever he was talking to, he loves them. That matters. It means he had somewhere to be, someone waiting, and he still stayed." Valerie closed her fist around the ring. "I just need to know why." She ended the call. Packed her laptop. Left cash on the table, too much she knew, but Marco's coffee had been her quiet refuge for 3 years, and she owed this place something for being the kind of place where decent people still existed. The morning light had shifted, turning the whole café golden. Valerie stepped out into it, and for just a moment, let herself feel something she'd locked away so long ago she'd almost forgotten the word for it. Hope. Caleb made it to the job site with 90 seconds to spare. He clocked in, grabbed his tool belt, and was halfway through his first set of measurements when his phone buzzed. A text from his neighbor, Mrs. Chen Amara, asked for the pink dress. The one with butterflies. Where is it? Caleb typed back quickly. Clean laundry basket. Second shelf in her closet. Thank you again, Mrs. Chen. Really, she's a joy, Caleb. Stop thanking me. He pocketed the phone and tried to focus. Tried to ignore the envelope he'd found taped to his apartment door last night. Another late notice, this one printed on pink paper instead of white. Pink meant final. Pink meant 30 days. Reyes. Torres's voice cut through the construction site noise. You gonna stand there texting, or you gonna actually work? On it, boss. The morning dissolved into sawdust and sweat and the particular rhythm of physical labor that let Caleb's mind go quiet. He liked this part. The measuring, the cutting, the building of something solid and real. He liked that at the end of the day, he could point to what his hands had made and know it was good. Lunch break came at 11:30. Caleb found his usual spot, the unfinished second floor where you could see out over Harbor Gate's downtown skyline. He pulled out the sandwich Mrs. Chen had made for him. She always made two, one for Amara's lunch, one for his. Never asked for money. Never made him feel small about it. His phone rang. Unknown number. He let it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, it rang again. Same number. Hello, Mr. Reyes. A woman's voice, professional but not cold. This is Sophia Park. I'm calling on behalf of someone you helped this morning, at Kindling Coffee. Caleb's stomach dropped. Look, if that guy's trying to press charges or something. No, nothing like that. Sophia's tone shifted warmer. Quite the opposite. My employer wanted to thank you properly. She'd like to buy you lunch if you're available. Today, if possible. Your choice of location. That's really not necessary. She was quite insistent. Caleb thought about the pink notice on his door. Thought about Amara's school fees coming due next week. Thought about the way his truck made that grinding sound every morning that meant the transmission was planning its death. He thought about taking money for doing the right thing and how that would feel. Tell your boss thanks, but I'm good. I didn't do anything special. Anyone would have. Anyone didn't. Sophia's voice was quiet. You did. That matters to her. Please. Just lunch. 1 hour. She's not. A pause. She's had a difficult few months. You reminded her that good people still exist. Let her say thank you. Something in those words found the soft place Caleb kept protected. He closed his eyes. I can't do today. I work until 6, then I gotta pick up my daughter. Tomorrow I've got a volunteer shift. I teach woodworking to kids at the community center on Saturday mornings. You're making this challenging, Mr. Reyes. Despite himself, Caleb smiled. I didn't ask her to call. Fair point. Sophia laughed, genuine. All right. What about Monday lunch? Bring your daughter if you'd like. Somewhere with chicken nuggets. That surprised him. How'd you... Lucky guess. I have a niece. Chicken nuggets are universal. Monday noon, that new place on the waterfront harbor side. They have a kids' menu and a play area. My treat. Well, my employer's treat. Caleb should say no. Every instinct told him to say no. Rich people didn't just want to say thank you. They wanted something. They always wanted something. But the voice in his head that sounded like his mother whispered, and what if she doesn't? What if someone just wants to be kind? You going to punish her for that? Monday, he heard himself say. Noon. But I'm paying for my kid's meal. Deal. The line went dead. Caleb stared at his phone, trying to figure out what just happened. "The hell you smiling about?" Torres appeared at the top of the stairs, clipboard in hand. "Nothing. Just nothing." "Well, smile on your own time. We got drywall coming in 20. The afternoon blurred past. 4:30 brought another text, this one from an unfamiliar number with a photo attachment. The video from kindling coffee, shaky phone footage of Caleb stepping between the harasser and the woman. It was already at 30,000 views. #stand with. Her read the caption. "This is what good men look like." Caleb's face burned. He deleted the text, but 3 more came in within minutes. Friends he hadn't talked to in months, suddenly checking in. His cousin, Maria, Tio. "You're famous. Did you know she's—" He didn't read the rest. Just pocketed his phone and worked harder as if he could sand away the attention with enough elbow grease. 5:45. Caleb clocked out, waved to the crew. Drove across town to Bright Horizons Elementary. He was third in the pickup line, good timing. Through the window he could see Amara's classroom, her dark head bent over a coloring page with the kind of intense concentration she brought to everything. His heart did that thing it always did. That squeeze of pure, terrifying love. The school doors opened. Kids poured out like water, chaotic and loud. Amara spotted his truck and her whole face lit up, that smile that made every pink notice, every double shift, every sacrifice worth it. She climbed in, all skinny arms and missing front tooth, her backpack bigger than her torso. "Daddy, guess what?" "What, baby?" "Mrs. Thompson said my butterfly painting was the best in the whole class, and she's gonna put it in the art show, and can we get it framed like a real artist? And—" She paused for breath. "Why do you look weird?" "I don't look weird. You look like when you're thinking too much. Your eyes get squinty." Caleb pulled out of the parking lot, merging into traffic. "Just had a strange day. Nothing bad. You hungry? Is the sky blue? Is water wet? Is—" All right. Tacos or pizza?" "Tacos." They stopped at the little family-owned place on 6th that knew them by name, that gave Amara extra chips without asking, that never made Caleb feel like he was barely making ends meet. Dinner cost $12. He had 14 in his wallet until payday. Close. Always so close. Back at their apartment, a third-floor walk-up that was too small and too expensive but in the right school district, Caleb helped Amara with homework while laundry tumbled in the building's basement machines. She read to him from her library book, stumbling over big words, triumphant when she got them right. "Daddy. Why did that lady at school ask if you were in a video?" Caleb's hand stilled on the dish he was washing. "What lady?" "The one who does pickup." She showed Mrs. Chen something on her phone, and they were both looking at me, and I don't think they knew I could see, but I could. Ice slid down Caleb's spine. He dried his hands carefully, keeping his voice light. "What did Mrs. Chen say?" "She said my daddy was a good man, and people should mind their business." Amara looked up from her book. "Are you in a video?" "Sort of. It's nothing. I just helped someone today at the coffee shop." "Helped how?" "Helped them feel safe." Amara processed this with the seriousness she brought to all important matters. "Like when you taught me about stranger danger." "Exactly like that." "Then why are people making videos about it?" "I don't know, baby. Adults are weird sometimes." "You're an adult." "I'm a work in progress." She giggled and the sound loosened something in Caleb's chest. He pulled her into a hug, breathing in the smell of her strawberry shampoo and the crayon she'd tucked behind her ear earlier. "Bath time, monster, then bed. Can we read 2 chapters tonight? 1.5. "Deal." She thundered off to the bathroom. Caleb listened to her sing-song voice counting to 60 while she brushed her teeth, smiled at her off-key rendition of whatever pop song was currently dominating the playground. His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Mr. Reyes. This is Valerie King." The voice from the café. Caleb's hand tightened on the phone. "Ms. King. Sophia said Monday." "I know, I'm sorry. This is—" A pause. Caleb heard traffic in the background, the hollow echo of someone standing outside. "I'm downstairs, at your building. Could I have 5 minutes? Please. I need to tell you something, and I need to tell you now before—" Her voice cracked almost imperceptibly. "Before Monday becomes complicated." Every alarm bell in Caleb's head started ringing. "How do you know where I live?" "I had you checked out. I'm sorry. I know how that sounds. I needed to be sure you were—" Another pause. "Safe. Safe." Caleb repeated the word flatly. "That you weren't, that this morning wasn't some kind of setup, that you didn't know who I was." "Lady, I still don't know who you are." Silence. Then quietly. "Yes, you do. You just haven't looked me up yet." Caleb moved to the window, looked down 3 floors to the street. A black car sat at the curb, engine running. A figure stood beside it, phone to ear, dark jeans, gray sweater. The woman from the café. "Daddy, I dropped the soap." Amara's voice echoed from the bathroom. "1 second, baby." Caleb pressed the phone closer. "I've got my daughter here. I don't know what you think this is, but I know you have a daughter. Amara, she's 6. She loves art and butterflies, and she's in Mrs. Thompson's 1st grade class." Valerie's voice was steady now, each word careful. "I know because I looked. I needed to know who you were before I came here because I'm about to offer you something, and I need you to understand it's not a trick. It's not pity. It's not— What could you possibly offer me? A job, a real one. I'm funding a renovation of the Bright Horizons Community Center. The whole building, new floors, new equipment, accessible everything. I need someone to oversee the woodshop installation. Someone who knows kids. Someone who gives a damn." Caleb's breath caught. "Why?" "Because you were right. This morning. You were right to step in, and most people wouldn't have. Because I watched you check that car seat before you drove away. Because my security team says you volunteer 16 hours a week teaching children whose parents can't afford summer camps. Because—" Her voice softened. "Because I have money and no idea who to trust with it, and you have skills, and a daughter who deserves a father who doesn't have to choose between fixing her school and fixing his truck." "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough. Monday. Noon. Bring Amara. Let me make my case. If you say no, I'll never contact you again. But Mr. Reyes, Caleb, please don't say no before you hear me out." The line went dead. Caleb stood at the window watching the black car pull away from the curb. His reflection stared back at him from the dark glass, a man who looked older than 32, who looked tired, who looked like he'd been making impossible choices for so long he'd forgotten what easy felt like. Behind him, Amara emerged from the bathroom in her butterfly pajamas, hair wet, eyes bright. Who was on the phone? Caleb turned from the window, looked at his daughter, his whole world, his every reason. "Just someone who wants to say thank you," he said. "For what?" "For doing the right thing." Amara considered this. Then she took his hand, small fingers wrapping around his calloused palm. "That's silly," she said. "You always do the right thing. That's just who you are." And Caleb, standing in their small apartment with pink notices hiding in his jacket, and a phone full of messages from people who wanted to make him famous for 30 seconds, felt something crack open in his chest. Maybe the right thing was letting someone help. Maybe the right thing was saying yes. Maybe. I'll strategically navigate the complex social dynamics, focusing on Caleb's principled approach to Valerie's unexpected job offer. The mini-climaxes reveal increasing media pressure and unexpected connections between characters. Each moment builds tension while maintaining Caleb's integrity and Amara's central role in his decision-making process. Caleb confronts the escalating media intrusion, demanding Valerie prioritize his daughter's safety. The anonymous complaint and paparazzi presence create a pressure cooker environment. His ultimatum to Valerie about media silence becomes a pivotal moment of trust and protection. The revelation of Gavin's role and Valerie's secret medical funding adds layers of complexity to their evolving relationship. Monday morning arrived wrapped in fog that clung to Harbor Gate like a held breath. Caleb stood in front of his bathroom mirror, holding two shirts, one slightly less wrinkled than the other, and feeling ridiculous. It was lunch. Just lunch. The kind of lunch where a billionaire casually offered you a job that could solve every financial problem that kept you awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling and doing math that never added up. No pressure. Amara appeared in the doorway, already dressed in her favorite purple dress, with the sparkly pockets hair in two lopsided braids that Caleb had attempted with more enthusiasm than skill. "The blue one," she announced with 6-year-old certainty. "The other one has a spot." "Since when are you a fashion critic?" "Since Mrs. Chen taught me what presentable means." She tilted her head, studying him with unsettling perception. "You're nervous." "I'm not nervous." "Your eye does the twitchy thing." Caleb pulled on the blue shirt, tried not to think about how this lunch had consumed his weekend. He'd finally looked up Valerie King on Saturday night after Amara went to bed. 3 hours later, he'd closed his laptop feeling like he'd touched something too hot. King Holdings. $17 billion in assets. Fortune 500. Her face on magazine covers with headlines like "The Invisible Billionaire" and "Why Valerie King Refuses to Be Seen." And she'd stood outside his apartment building, knew his daughter's name, offered him work. The math still didn't add up, but for entirely different reasons now. Harborside Restaurant sat where the city met the water, all glass walls and exposed beams that probably cost more than Caleb made in 5 years. He pulled into the parking lot at 11:53, his truck looking like a rust bucket refugee among the Teslas and Mercedes. Amara pressed her face to the window, eyes wide. "Daddy, there's a boat inside." "That's not a boat, baby. That's a..." He looked closer. "Okay, that's a boat." A restored fishing vessel hung suspended from the ceiling, repurposed as some kind of art installation, because apparently normal restaurants weren't enough when you had money to burn. His phone buzzed. A text from Sophia Table by the window. Left side. She's already there. Caleb helped Amara out of her booster seat, smoothed down her dress, tried to ignore the way every part of him wanted to put the truck in reverse and drive until the ocean stopped them. "Ready, monster." "Are we gonna see the lady you helped?" "Yeah." "Is she nice?" Caleb thought about Valerie's voice on the phone. Careful, controlled, cracking just enough to let truth through. "I think so. We're about to find out." The hostess smiled too brightly when they entered, that particular service industry smile that said she'd already been briefed, already knew Caleb didn't belong here, already had her script ready. "Mr. Reyes, right this way." They wound through tables where people ate $30 salads and spoke in the hushed tones of business deals. Amara's hand tightened in Caleb's. He squeezed back. "I've got you." Valerie King sat at a corner table with a view of the harbor. Her laptop closed her attention on the menu like it held state secrets. She'd dressed down, or what passed for down in her world. Dark jeans again, a cream sweater. Hair loose this time, falling past her shoulders in a way that made her look younger, more uncertain. She stood when they approached, and Caleb watched something complex move across her face. Relief, maybe, or nervousness that mirrored his own. "Caleb, thank you for coming." Her eyes dropped to Amara. "And you must be the artist. I heard about your butterfly painting." Amara's shyness lasted exactly 3 seconds. "How did you know about that?" "I pay attention to important things. Butterflies are important." Valerie's smile was small but genuine. "I'm Valerie." "I'm Amara. That's a pretty name. It sounds like a princess." "Yours sounds like music." Valerie gestured to the table. "I ordered lemonade for you, the pink kind with the real strawberries. But if you don't like strawberries, we can get something else. They have chocolate milk, or apple juice, or pink lemonade is perfect." Amara climbed into her chair, all earlier nervousness evaporated. Did you know butterflies taste with their feet? Valerie sat back down, something loosening in her shoulders. I did not know that. That seems both efficient and disgusting. Right. Amara launched into an explanation of butterfly anatomy that she'd memorized from a library book, complete with hand gestures. Caleb watched them, his chest doing that squeeze thing again. Watched Valerie lean forward, asking follow-up questions like she actually cared about butterfly migration patterns. Watched his daughter bloom under the attention of someone who wasn't just humoring a kid. A waiter appeared with menus, and that pink lemonade served in a glass with an actual strawberry perched on the rim like a tiny hat. Amara gasped like she'd been handed treasure. I'll give you folks a minute, the waiter said, then hesitated. Ms. King, your usual. Please. The waiter disappeared. Valerie caught Caleb's look and shrugged. I eat here sometimes, when I need to think. Must be nice, having a place. It's quiet. Rich people don't make small talk. She paused. That sounded horrible. I know what you meant. They ordered chicken nuggets shaped like dinosaurs for Amara, pasta for Valerie, the cheapest sandwich on the menu for Caleb, despite Valerie's protest that this was her treat. The food came fast. Amara declared the nuggets better than anywhere, and proceeded to name each dinosaur before eating it, complete with backstories. Valerie played along without condescension. So T-Rex Timothy was a vegetarian. Obviously, he didn't want to hurt his friends. That's very progressive of Timothy. Caleb felt himself relaxing incrementally the way ice melts slowly, then all at once. He'd expected this to feel like a business meeting. Cold. Transactional. Instead, it felt like Valerie King was lonely. Like she'd found someone she could be real with, and she was hanging on to that with both hands. So, Valerie said when Amara had moved on to coloring the kids' menu with crayons the waiter brought. The community center project. I meant what I said. It's real. The funding's approved. I need someone to oversee the woodshop installation, someone who knows how to make a space safe for kids but still teach them real skills. Why me? You could hire a contractor with actual credentials. I did, 3 of them. They all gave me bids that involved plastic tools and liability waivers that would make the kids wear helmets to hold a pencil. Valerie's jaw tightened. I don't want a playroom. I want a workshop. I want kids to learn that their hands can build things that matter. Caleb set down his sandwich. That's a good answer. It's the true answer. She pulled out a folder from the bag beside her chair, actual paper, which somehow surprised him. This is the scope, timeline, budget. Your compensation would be... She slid a number across the table. Caleb looked at it, looked again, felt his vision blur at the edges. That can't be right. It's right. It's fair market value for project management with specialized skills, plus hazard pay for dealing with bureaucracy and my father, who will definitely try to micromanage. Valerie's voice stayed level. This isn't charity, Caleb. I'm hiring you because you're good at what you do. You don't know if I'm good at what I do. I called your former boss at Riverside Construction. He said you're the best finished carpenter he's had in 20 years. Said he'd hire you full-time if you'd take it. Caleb's face heated. Torres said that, among other things, mostly that you're stubborn and you work too hard and you need to learn to ask for help. Valerie's eyes found his. He also said your daughter's lucky, that not every dad would have walked away from a management track to have flexible hours for school pickup. The restaurant had gone blurry. Caleb blinked hard. I didn't walk away from anything. I got demoted because I wouldn't take the midnight shifts when Amara's mom... He stopped. Doesn't matter. It matters. Valerie's voice went soft. Everything about how you parent matters. That's why I'm asking you. Because the kids at that center deserve someone who sees them as people, not liabilities. Amara looked up from her coloring. Daddy, can I get ice cream? After you finish your nuggets. I finished them, see? She displayed an empty basket with great pride. Valerie flagged the waiter. "We need your best ice cream. What do you have that's—" She looked at Amara. "What's your favorite flavor?" "Cookie dough." "Cookie dough sundae, extra cookies, and 2 spoons because I'm going to steal bites." Valerie glanced at Caleb. "Unless Dad objects. Dad's going to be in a sugar coma later, but sure." The ice cream arrived in a bowl the size of Amara's head. She and Valerie attacked it with shared focus, and Caleb found himself smiling despite everything. Despite the number on that paper that could change their lives. Despite the voice in his head screaming that this was too good, too easy, too something. They were halfway through dessert when Caleb noticed the shift. A whisper from the neighboring table. A phone angled their direction, trying to be subtle and failing. Then another phone. Another. Valerie noticed too. Her shoulders went tight, her face smoothing into something blank and corporate. Sophia appeared from somewhere Caleb hadn't even seen her enter and leaned down to murmur something in Valerie's ear. "It's fine," Valerie said, but her voice had lost its warmth. "We're almost done anyway." "Ms. King." "It's fine, Sophia." But it wasn't fine. Caleb watched the way Valerie's hand trembled slightly as she set down her spoon. Watched her glance toward the exit, calculating. "We should go," Caleb said quietly. "No, we're finishing our meal." Valerie's voice had steel underneath. "I won't let them—" She stopped, started again. "I'm tired of running." Amara, oblivious, kept eating ice cream and humming. They made it another 10 minutes before a man approached their table, mid-40s expensive suit cologne that announced itself 3 feet away. His smile was all teeth and no warmth. "Valerie King, imagine seeing you somewhere public." He didn't wait for an invitation, just pulled out the empty chair. "And who's this new PR angle charity case of the month?" Every muscle in Caleb's body went rigid. Valerie's face stayed perfectly blank. "Gavin? How unexpected and uninvited." "Come on, Val. We run in the same circles. I was having lunch with clients." Gavin's eyes raked over Caleb, dismissive. "Though I usually stick to the upstairs dining room. Better view, better company." "Then you should return to it." "I will. Just wanted to say hi. See what the rumor mill's churning about." Gavin leaned back completely at ease. "Coffee shop hero, right? That's a good story. Real white knight energy." Or, he pretended to think, "Is it brown knight? I never know the PC terminology these days." Caleb stood slowly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I think the lady asked you to leave." "Easy, Lancelot. I'm just making conversation." Gavin's smile widened. "You know who you're sitting with, right, Valerie King? Richest woman under 40 in the state. That number she showed you, she probably spends that on shoes." "Gavin!" Valerie's voice could have cut glass. "Leave, now. Or, what you'll have security throw me out. That'll look great on page 6. Billionaire has lunch date bounced." Gavin stood brushing imaginary dust from his jacket. "Enjoy your afternoon, kids. Real cute, Val. The whole single dad thing. Very humanitarian." He walked away. The restaurant had gone silent, everyone pretending not to watch while absolutely watching. Caleb sat back down, his hands shaking with adrenaline. "Friend of yours?" "Business acquaintance. His family's in real estate development. He's been—" Valerie paused. "Persistent." "Persistent how?" "The kind of persistent that doesn't understand no." Amara had gone quiet, her ice cream forgotten, her eyes too wide. Caleb reached over and squeezed her hand. "You okay, baby?" She nodded, but uncertainty flickered across her face. Why was that man mean? Some people are just mean, sweetheart. Doesn't mean they win. Valerie's voice had gentled again. "Want to hear a secret?" Amara leaned closer. "Mean people are usually scared people, and scared people try to make everyone else small so they feel big." Valerie touched Amara's hand lightly. "But you're not small. You're exactly the right size to be you." Amara processed this with her usual gravity. Then she pushed the ice cream bowl toward Valerie. "You should eat more. You look sad." Valerie's eyes went bright. She took a bite, managed a real smile. "Thank you." They wrapped up lunch quickly after that. Caleb tried again to pay for Amara's meal. Valerie waved him off with a look that said she'd already won that argument before it started. Outside, the fog had burned off, leaving the harbor bright and sharp. "Think about the job," Valerie said as they stood by Caleb's truck. "No pressure, but I meant it, all of it." "I will." "And Caleb." She looked at Amara, then back at him. "I'm sorry about Gavin. He's complicated, but he won't bother you again." Something in her tone made Caleb pause. "You sure about that?" "I'm very good at making my expectations clear." Valerie pulled out her phone, typed something quickly. "Sophia's sending you her direct number. If anyone and I mean anyone makes you uncomfortable, call her. She's terrifying in the best possible way." "I can handle." "I know you can, but you shouldn't have to." Valerie's eyes found his, and Caleb saw something raw there. Something that looked like understanding. "I know what it's like to do everything alone. I know how heavy that gets. Let me help carry some of it." Amara tugged Caleb's hand. "Daddy, can Valerie come to my art show?" "Baby, I'm sure she's busy." "When is it?" Valerie asked. "Friday night, 6 p.m., at the school." Caleb shook his head. "You really don't have to. I'd love to." Valerie crouched down to Amara's level. "Will your butterfly painting be there?" "And my clay turtle? He's lumpy, but I love him." "Lumpy turtles are the best kind." They said goodbye. Caleb drove away, watching Valerie in the rearview mirror, standing in that parking lot alone, despite the security detail he'd finally spotted lurking nearby. She looked untethered, like a kite someone had forgotten to hold. That night, after Amara was asleep, Caleb sat at his kitchen table and really looked at Valerie's offer. The number, the scope, the timeline that would take him through the next 8 months full-time with benefits that included health insurance that covered dental and vision, and... He stopped reading when he got to the clause about educational stipends for dependents. She'd written in a college fund for Amara. His phone rang at 9:15. Unknown number. He answered without thinking. "Mr. Reyes." A woman's voice, professional but urgent. "This is Sharon Diaz from Child Protective Services. I'm calling about a complaint we received regarding your daughter, Amara Reyes." The world tilted. What complaint? An anonymous report was filed alleging unsafe living conditions and inadequate supervision. I need to schedule a home inspection within the next 72 hours. Is tomorrow afternoon possible? Tomorrow, yes, whatever you need. But there's nothing unsafe. I don't understand. These reports are taken seriously, Mr. Reyes. Please have documentation ready. Lease agreement, proof of income, child care arrangements, school records. Someone will be there at 2 p.m. The line went dead. Caleb sat in his kitchen, staring at his phone, feeling like the floor had opened up beneath him. Someone had called CPS. Someone had looked at his life and decided to weaponize the system against him. Gavin's smile flashed through his memory. Real cute Val, the whole single dad thing. His phone buzzed. "A text from Sophia, I heard. We're handling it. Don't panic. Documentation ready by morning. I'm sending a lawyer." Another buzz. "This is Valerie. I'm so sorry. I'll fix this. I promise." Caleb's hands shook. He wanted to throw his phone, wanted to scream, wanted to drive to whatever expensive club Gavin Rourke frequented, and Amara's nightlight glowed from her bedroom doorway, her soft breathing audible even from here. Caleb took a breath, then another, made himself think clearly. This was what money did. This was what power looked like when it decided you were a threat. And he'd been naive enough to think lunch could just be lunch. He texted Valerie back. "Not your fault, but I need to protect my daughter. Whatever this is between us, it stops if she gets hurt." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "I understand. But let me help. Please, you're not alone in this. Caleb set his phone down and put his head in his hands. Alone was all he'd ever been. Alone was safe. Alone meant nobody could use the people you loved as weapons. But God, he was tired of alone. The next day crawled past in slow motion. Torres gave him the afternoon off without questions. Apparently word had spread. The CPS inspector arrived at 2 p.m. sharp, a tired woman named Sharon, who looked like she'd seen every possible version of how people failed their kids and was determined not to miss any flags. She walked through the apartment with clinical efficiency, checked the locks on the windows, opened the fridge, looked at Amara's room with its second-hand furniture and library books and walls covered in her artwork. "Where does she sleep when you work night shifts?" "I don't work night shifts. I gave those up." "Your income?" Caleb showed her pay stubs, the offer letter from Valerie that he'd signed that morning because, screw it, he needed health insurance. Showed her Mrs. Chen's notarized statement that she'd been Amara's childcare for 2 years. Never a concern, never a problem. Sharon made notes, asked about Amara's mother. "She left when Amara was 8 months old. No contact since. I have full custody." "Does Amara ask about her?" "Sometimes. I tell her the truth, her mom loved her but couldn't stay. That it's not Amara's fault. That she's enough exactly as she is." Sharon's pen stilled. She looked up. Really looked at Caleb for the first time. "You say that to her. Every time she asks." Something softened in Sharon's face. "Mr. Reyes, I've been doing this job for 15 years. You know what I usually find?" "No, ma'am. Exactly what you think I'd find. Neglect. Abuse. Kids slipping through cracks nobody bothered to patch." She closed her notepad. "This isn't that. This is a father who's doing everything right with too few resources and zero margin for error." So the complaint was bullshit. Forgive my language, but I know a vendetta when I see one. Sharon stood, handed him a card. "Your case will be closed. The report was unsubstantiated. But Mr. Reyes, watch your back. Whoever filed this isn't done." She left. Caleb stood in his apartment, shaking with relief and rage in equal measure. His phone rang. Valerie. "Sharon called me," she said without preamble. "You're clear. I'm so sorry. I'm having my legal team trace the complaint. If it's Gavin, it's Gavin." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do. And you know it too." Caleb's voice came out harder than he meant. "This is what happens, isn't it? I get close to you and suddenly my life's a target." Silence. Then quietly, "Yes, that's what happens. That's always what happens. Why do you think I eat lunch alone?" The pain in her voice punctured his anger. "Valerie, I should have warned you. Should have been honest about what proximity to me costs. I'm sorry. I'll understand if you want to walk away." Caleb thought about Amara's face when Sharon was here, confused and scared. Thought about the pink notices on his door that Valerie's job offer would finally clear. Thought about a woman who'd been so lonely she'd driven across town just to thank someone for basic human decency. "I'm not walking away," he heard himself say. "But I need boundaries, real ones. Amara doesn't get photographed, doesn't get used for PR, doesn't get weaponized." "Agreed. Absolutely. I'll have Sophia draft protocols. Media blackout on anything involving you or Amara. If anyone violates that, I don't need corporate solutions, Valerie. I need your word. You have it. No hesitation. On everything I own, everything I am, your daughter is off limits. Always." "Okay," Caleb exhaled. "Okay. Then we keep going. Carefully." "Carefully," Valerie agreed. And Caleb, Friday night. The art show. I'm still coming. Not as a billionaire. Not as your boss. Just as someone who wants to see a 6-year-old's lumpy turtle. Despite everything, Caleb smiled. She'll hold you to that. Good. I need more people in my life who hold me to things. Friday came. The art show was exactly as chaotic as elementary school events always were. Proud parents with phones, Kids bouncing with excitement, a table of store-bought cookies and juice boxes. Amara had changed her outfit 3 times, finally settling on her rainbow dress with the twirly skirt. Valerie arrived at 6:03, wearing jeans and a sweater that probably cost a month of Caleb's old rent but looked normal enough to pass. She carried a small gift bag. "You didn't have to bring anything," Caleb said. "It's a box of fancy-colored pencils, the kind that don't break when you press hard. Every artist needs good tools." Valerie's eyes scanned the cafeteria. "Which one's hers?" "Over there. Blue ribbon." Amara's butterfly painting hung on the far wall, all bright wings and enthusiastic color choices that didn't quite stay in the lines but captured something true anyway. Valerie stood in front of it for a long moment. "She's got vision," Valerie said quietly. "Most kids that age try to make things perfect. She went for feeling instead. That's my girl. All heart, no fear." They spent an hour wandering through the displays, Valerie asking questions and listening to answers like they mattered. Other parents noticed Caleb watched the whispers start, the phones come out, but Valerie ignored them with practiced ease. Amara dragged her over to the clay table to see the lumpy turtle. Valerie examined it with great seriousness. "I love him. What's his name? Shelley." "Perfect. Does Shelley have a backstory?" "He's a sea turtle, but he's scared of deep water, so he lives in a pond with his frog friends who don't judge him." Valerie met Caleb's eyes over Amara's head, something warm passing between them. "Shelley sounds very brave. It takes courage to know your limits." "That's what Daddy says." They left as the event wound down. Outside, the spring evening had turned cool. Amara skipped ahead to the playground equipment, still too wired for bed. "She's wonderful," Valerie said. "Yeah, she is." Caleb watched his daughter climb the slide fearless. "I got the legal report about the CPS complaint." Valerie went still. "And?" "You were right. Gavin Rourke filed it. Used a burner phone. Your lawyers have him dead to rights." "I'll bury him." "No." Caleb turned to face her. "You'll handle it quietly, legally, but I don't want war. I just want my daughter safe." "Caleb." "I mean it, Valerie. He goes after me fine. I can take it. But Amara's off limits. And if making her off limits means I step back from whatever this isn't just business to me." The words came out rushed, almost desperate. "I know it should be. I know that would be smarter. But it's not." Caleb's breath caught. "Valerie." "You don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. She looked away. "I need you to know. Before this gets more complicated." "More complicated than a fake CPS complaint and a society asshole with a grudge. Much more complicated." Valerie pulled an envelope from her bag, hands trembling slightly. "My father wants to meet you. Heritage Gala. Next Saturday. Black tie, 500 guests, every social climber and power broker in the state." "Absolutely not." "I told him you'd say that." "Then why are you asking?" "Because he controls the foundation that's funding the community center. And because," Valerie's voice dropped, "because if I show up alone again, he'll spend the whole night parading potential suitors in front of me like some Victorian marriage market. And I can't do that again. So, I'm a shield. You're a friend. Maybe more than a friend. I don't know yet. I'm not good at this." Valerie met his eyes. "But I know that when Gavin tried to intimidate you, you stood up. When that man harassed me at the café, you intervened. You see people, Caleb. Not opportunities, not transactions. People. That's rare in my world. That's God, that's everything." Amara called from the swings. "Daddy, push me." "1 second, baby." Caleb turned back to Valerie, his heart hammering. "If I say yes to this gala, you set the boundaries, you control the story, you leave whenever you want, and Amara stays home with a security detail so tight a mosquito couldn't get through." "I don't want security detail on my daughter." "Then what do you want?" Caleb thought about it, really thought. "I want honesty. I want to know what I'm walking into before I'm in it. And I want..." He stopped. What? I want to know why you're really asking, not the polite version. The truth. Valerie was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. Because for the first time in 6 years, someone looked at me and saw Valerie. Not King Holdings, not dollar signs, not a charity tax write-off or a networking opportunity. Just me. And I'm selfish enough to want more of that feeling. Even if it's borrowed. Even if it can't last. Something cracked open in Caleb's chest. He thought about loneliness. About doing everything alone because alone was safer. About a woman who had everything and nothing. About how sometimes the bravest thing was saying yes. "What time's the gala?" he asked. Valerie's eyes widened. 7 p.m. But Caleb, if you're not sure, I'm not sure about anything except that you deserve better than being paraded around like property. He managed to smile. Besides, Amara will lose her mind when she finds out I have to wear a tuxedo. You'll look good in a tuxedo. I'll look like a waiter. Then you'll be the best-looking waiter there. Valerie's smile was tentative but real. Thank you. I know I'm asking a lot. You're asking me to dress up and eat fancy food. I've had worse Saturdays. They stood there as the sun dropped lower, painting everything gold. Amara's laughter echoed from the playground. Somewhere in the city, Gavin Rourke was probably planning his next move. Somewhere Caleb's future was being rewritten by choices he couldn't quite believe he was making. But right now, in this moment, it felt almost simple. Two people. Trying to be honest. Trying to be brave. Trying to trust that maybe, just maybe, good things were still possible. The tuxedo arrived on Thursday in a garment bag that probably cost more than the suit inside. Caleb stared at it hanging on his bedroom door, like it might come alive and critique his life choices. The card attached read simply, "Tailored to your measurements. Non-negotiable. V." He'd never told her his measurements. "Sophia's good," he muttered, running a hand over the fabric. It felt like touching money. Amara thought the whole thing was hilarious. She made him try it on twice, took 17 photos on his phone, and declared him fancier than a penguin prince. Mrs. Chen agreed to stay overnight Saturday, insisted on it actually, with a look that said she knew exactly what kind of circus Caleb was walking into, and approved anyway. "You be yourself," she told him Friday evening while Amara practiced her spelling words. "Rich people aren't better, just louder." Saturday arrived too fast. Caleb worked a half shift at the community center site. His first week on Valerie's project had been surreal, all unlimited budgets and contractors who actually returned his calls. He came home at 3, showered twice, and stood in front of his mirror trying to figure out how to tie a bow tie from a YouTube video. His phone buzzed. "Valerie, Sophia's picking you up at 6:30. Don't argue. You'll need the buffer time." Buffer time for what? Breathing. Trust me. The town car pulled up at 6:28, black sleek windows, tinted enough to hide sins. Sophia stepped out wearing a charcoal suit that somehow made her look both elegant and dangerous. She took one look at Caleb's crooked bow tie and sighed. "Come here." She fixed it in 30 seconds, her movements efficient and impersonal. First gala. First everything, pretty much. Rules: don't apologize for existing, don't explain your job unless asked directly, and don't let anyone make you feel small. You're there because Valerie wants you there. That's the only credential that matters. Sophia opened the car door. Also, the shrimp puffs are better than they look. Skip the caviar unless you like salty sadness. Caleb laughed despite his nerves. "You always this helpful?" "Only when I like someone. Don't make me regret it." The drive across town felt like crossing into another country. The buildings got taller, the cars got shinier. The people on the sidewalks looked like they'd never worried about a pink eviction notice in their lives. The Heritage Club sat on a bluff overlooking the harbor, all stone columns and old money. The kind of place that had probably never allowed people like Caleb through the front door until recently. Sophia's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, frowned. Valerie's delayed. Board meeting ran over. She'll meet you inside. I'm walking in alone. You're walking in with me. Worse fates exist. Sophia pulled up to the valet station, where young men in white jackets descended like well-dressed vultures. Ready? Absolutely not. Perfect. That's the right attitude. The entrance hall looked like something out of a movie. Crystal chandeliers, marble floors so polished, Caleb could see his reflection, and a staircase that swept upward like it led to heaven's waiting room. Women in gowns that cost more than his truck glided past. Men in tuxedos clustered in groups laughing at jokes that probably weren't funny but had expensive punchlines. Caleb felt every eye track him as he entered. Felt the assessment, the calculation, the dismissal. Sophia's hand touched his elbow lightly. Chin up. You belong here as much as anyone. I really don't. Neither do half these people. They're just better at pretending. She guided him toward the ballroom. Valerie's father will find you within 10 minutes. Richard King doesn't miss details. Be honest, be brief, and don't try to impress him. He hates tryhards. Great. Pressure's super helpful right now. You intervened when a woman was being harassed. You raise your daughter alone. You build things with your hands. Sophia's voice dropped. Richard King inherited everything he has. You earned everything you are. Remember that. She disappeared into the crowd before Caleb could respond, leaving him alone in a sea of people who looked like they summered in the Hamptons and wintered in Aspen, and never once worried about whether their kids' shoes would last another month. A waiter passed with champagne. Caleb took a glass to have something to do with his hands, then immediately regretted it because now he couldn't put his hands in his pockets. You must be Caleb Reyes. The voice came from his left, deep measured, carrying the kind of authority that made people straighten their spines involuntarily. Caleb turned to find a man in his late 60s studying him with sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. Silver hair, perfect posture, a tuxedo that probably cost more than Caleb's entire wardrobe, including the one he was wearing. Richard King. Had to be. Mr. King? Caleb extended his hand. Sir? Richard's handshake was firm, brief, assessing. My daughter speaks highly of you. That's unusual. Valerie doesn't speak highly of anyone. She's easy to work for. Liar. She's impossible to work for. But I appreciate the diplomacy. Richard gestured toward a quieter corner. Walk with me. It wasn't a request. Caleb followed, hyper-aware of the conversations that paused as they passed the phones that angled subtly their direction. They stopped near a window overlooking the harbor. Richard didn't look at Caleb, just gazed out at the water like it held answers. You know why I invited you here? To make sure I'm not trying to take advantage of your daughter. Partly, also to see if you'd show up. Richard glanced at him sideways. Most men in your position would have found an excuse, claimed a conflict, sent regrets. You came anyway. Why? Caleb thought about lying about giving the polite answer, remembered Sophia's advice. Be honest. Because she asked, and because she's been surrounded by people who want something from her for so long, maybe she needs someone who just shows up. Richard's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. You have a daughter. Yes, sir. What would you do if someone tried to use her to get to you? The question landed like a fist. Caleb's jaw tightened. I'd remove the threat. Permanently. How comforting. So would I. Richard finally looked directly at him. My daughter was engaged once, 5 years ago. Lovely man. Came from nothing, built a tech startup, very impressive story. Turned out he'd orchestrated their entire meeting. Researched her habits, positioned himself in her path, played the humble card beautifully. The startup was real. His feelings weren't. Caleb's stomach dropped. Mr. King, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm simply establishing context. Richard's voice stayed level, almost gentle. Valerie hasn't trusted anyone since. Hasn't brought anyone to a family event. Hasn't looked at another man the way her mother tells me she looks at you. So you'll understand my concern. I'm not that guy. Prove it. How? Tell me what you want from my daughter. Caleb met Richard's eyes directly. Nothing. I want nothing from her except what she chooses to give. I didn't ask for the job. I didn't ask to be here. I didn't ask for any of this. But she's... He stopped searching for words. She's lonely. And I know what that feels like. So, if I can make that a little less heavy for a while, that's not nothing. That's just human. Silence stretched between them. The ballroom noise felt distant, muffled. Richard nodded slowly. Valerie was right. You are different. He pulled a business card from his pocket, handed it to Caleb. My private number. You use it if anyone, and I mean anyone, threatens you or your daughter. Clear. Mr. King, I can handle. I'm sure you can. Use it anyway. Richard's expression softened fractionally. My daughter deserves someone who sees her, not her bank account. Try not to disappoint her. She's had enough of that. He walked away before Caleb could respond, dissolving into the crowd like he'd never been there. Caleb stared at the card in his hand, his heart hammering. That had been a test. Maybe he'd passed. Maybe he hadn't. Hard to tell with people who wore their emotions like expensive watches, visible, but not necessarily accurate. There you are. Valerie's voice cut through his spiraling thoughts. Caleb turned and forgot how to breathe. She wore a midnight blue gown that somehow managed to be both elegant and understated. Her hair swept up minimal jewelry except for small diamond earrings that caught the light when she moved. But it was her face that stopped him. The relief there, the genuine smile, the way her shoulders dropped when she saw him. You came, she said softly. I said I would. People say a lot of things. You actually show up. She took his arm naturally, like they'd done this 1,000 times. I'm sorry I was late. Board politics. The joys of family business. Your father found me. Valerie tensed. And he threatened me politely and gave me his number. That's actually progress. He usually just destroys people. She guided him toward the ballroom proper. Ready to run the gauntlet? Not even slightly. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. The ballroom was everything Caleb expected, and worse, hundreds of people in designer clothes conversations that sounded important but meant nothing, and the constant background hum of networking disguised as socializing. Valerie navigated it with practiced ease, introducing him to people whose names he immediately forgot, deflecting invasive questions with surgical precision. Then, Gavin Rourke materialized from the crowd like a bad smell. Valerie, and the working man, how delightfully progressive. Gavin's smile was all predator, no warmth. His eyes traveled over Caleb's tuxedo with obvious amusement. Nice suit, rental, tailored actually, Valerie said coldly. Unlike your manners, which appear to be off-the-rack desperation. Several nearby guests stopped talking. Phones came out subtly. Gavin's smile tightened. Still bitter about the merger, Val? That's so like you. Holding grudges when you should be making deals. I hold grudges against men who file false reports with Child Protective Services. Funny how that works. The temperature in their immediate vicinity dropped 20 degrees. Gavin's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Really? Because my legal team has phone records that suggest otherwise. And unlike you, I don't bluff with dirty hands. Caleb watched the calculation flash across Gavin's face. Fight or flight, double down or retreat. Gavin chose the worst possible option, escalation. You think you're untouchable because Daddy gave you a company you're playing dress-up, sweetheart. Bringing charity cases to galas doesn't make you a philanthropist. It makes you... Caleb stepped forward, his voice quiet but absolute. Choose your next words carefully. Gavin laughed sharp and ugly. Or what, you'll defend her honor. This is Harbor Gate Society, not some dive bar. We have rules. So do I. Rule 1, don't talk about people's kids. Rule 2, don't weaponize systems meant to protect children. Rule 3. Caleb moved into Gavin's space, not threatening, but immovable. Apologize to the lady, then walk away while you still can. This is adorable, really. The white knight routine. Gavin's hand went to his pocket, pulled out his phone. Smile, Lancelot. This is going straight to... Sophia appeared from nowhere, her hand closing over Gavin's phone with enough pressure to make him wince. Photography isn't permitted at Heritage Club events. Surely you remember the membership rules, Mr. Rourke. Get your hands off me. Gladly. Sophia released him, her smile pleasant and terrifying. Though I should mention that King Holdings' legal department has filed a formal complaint with the club's ethics board regarding your conduct. The hearing's Tuesday. I'd bring a good lawyer if I were you. Gavin's face went from red to white. You can't, Richard King wouldn't. My father absolutely would, Valerie said quietly. And did, an hour ago. You went after a child, Gavin. There are lines even in our world. For the first time, genuine fear flickered across Gavin's face. He looked around at the watching crowd at the phone's recording, despite Sophia's warning at the social death sentence being handed down in real time. This isn't over, he managed. Yes, it is. Valerie's voice carried the weight of generations of power. Enjoy the bar. It's the last time you'll drink here. Gavin left his exit watched by 300 pairs of eyes. The crowd's whisper rose like wind. Valerie's hand found Caleb's squeezing hard. He squeezed back, grounding her. That was, she started, terrifying. Exhilarating. Possibly career suicide for me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have engaged. I should have just... You stood up. For me. For Amara. Caleb turned to face her fully. Nobody's done that, and God, I don't even remember. Well, get used to it. Valerie's eyes were bright fierce. You're not alone anymore, whether you like it or not. Someone cleared their throat behind them. A woman in her 60s wearing pearls and a smile that could cut glass. Valerie, darling, introduce me to your friend. Valerie's posture shifted not quite tension, but awareness. Mother, this is Caleb Reyes. Caleb, my mother, Eleanor King. Eleanor's eyes were the same sharp blue as Richard's, but warmer, assessing in a different way. She extended her hand. Mr. Reyes, I've heard fascinating things. Ma'am. He has manners. How refreshing. Eleanor glanced at her daughter. Are you going to hover protectively, or may I steal him for a moment? Mother. I'm not interrogating him, dear, just curious. Eleanor linked her arm through Caleb's before Valerie could protest. Walk with me. Your daughter can survive 30 seconds without you. She led him toward a quieter alcove, her pace unhurried. When they were out of immediate earshot, she stopped and studied him with unsettling intensity. My husband thinks you're genuine. My daughter clearly adores you. But I'm a mother first. So I'll be direct. Are you in love with her? Caleb almost choked. We've known each other 2 weeks. That's not an answer. I'm not... He stopped. Tried again. I think she's remarkable. I think she deserves better than being treated like a trophy. I think... The truth came out before he could stop it. I think I could fall in love with her if I'm not careful. But I have a daughter to protect, and I won't let anything hurt her. So I'm being very, very careful. Eleanor's expression softened completely. Good. Be careful. Valerie needs careful right now. She needs real. She's been performing for so long I don't think she remembers how to stop. She touched his arm gently. But don't be too careful. Sometimes the best things are the scary ones. She walked away before he could respond, leaving him thoroughly confused and slightly dizzy. The rest of the evening blurred past in a cascade of faces and conversations. Caleb met board members and investors and society wives who asked pointed questions disguised as small talk. He deflected where he could, answered honestly when he couldn't, and tried not to think about how many ways this could all explode. Around 9 during dinner, some kind of fish that tasted like it cost $300 a plate. A little girl appeared at their table. Maybe 7 years old, wearing a pink dress, tears streaming down her face. "I can't find my mommy," she whispered. The adults at the table looked uncomfortable, like a crying child was a social faux pas nobody knew how to address. Caleb was on his feet before he thought about it. "Hey, it's okay. We'll find her." He crouched to the girl's level, keeping his voice gentle. "What's your mom's name?" "Catherine. Catherine Delacroix." "That's a pretty name. I'm Caleb. What's yours?" "Sophie." "Okay, Sophie. Where did you see your mom last?" "By the stairs. But there were so many people and I got scared and fresh tears." "That's okay. Being scared is normal. But you did the brave thing, you asked for help." Caleb stood, spotted a club employee. "Can you page Catherine Delacroix? Her daughter's looking for her." Within minutes, a frantic woman in a green gown rushed over, scooping Sophie into her arms. "Oh my God, baby, I was terrified. I turned around and you were gone." "She's okay," Caleb said quietly. "Just got turned around in the crowd." Catherine's eyes were red-rimmed with panic tears. "Thank you. God, thank you so much. Just glad she's safe." He returned to the table to find Valerie watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. Her mother was openly smiling. Even Richard from 2 tables over gave a small nod of approval. "You're good with kids," Valerie said softly. "I have practice." "It's more than that. You see them as people. Most adults here." She gestured vaguely. "They see accessories or interruptions." "That's sad." "That's wealth." Valerie's hand found his under the table. "Thank you for being you." Around 10, Valerie's PR manager, a woman named Claudia Voss, with perfect makeup and predatory eyes, cornered them near the dessert table. "Valerie, darling, the press is clamoring. That little scene with Gavin is everywhere. We should get ahead of it. Control the narrative." Claudia's smile was bright and empty. "I'm thinking a photo op. You two by the terrace, soft lighting. The philanthropist and the working man. It's a beautiful story." "No," Valerie said flatly. "But..." "I said no, Claudia. We're not doing photo ops. We're not doing narratives. We're just existing." "Existing doesn't trend, darling. And right now, Billionaire Defender is trending hard. We capitalize on it or someone else controls the story." Caleb felt his stomach knot. This was it, the moment where he became a commodity, where his life turned into content. "Claudia." Valerie's voice went ice cold. "When I hired you, what was our agreement about my personal life? That I'd protect it, but no buts. My personal life is mine, not yours, not the company's, mine." Valerie stood, pulling Caleb with her. "We're leaving. Handle the Gavin situation however you see fit, but leave Caleb out of it." "Valerie, you're being short-sighted." "I'm being clear. There's a difference." They made it to the coat check when Caleb's phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen's number. His heart stopped. "I have to take this." "Of course." He stepped into the quieter lobby. "Mrs. Chen, is Amara?" "She's fine. She's asleep." "But Caleb..." The older woman's voice was tight. "There are photographers outside your building, 3 of them. They tried to ring your buzzer. I told them to leave, but they're still there." The world tilted. "Did they see Amara?" "No. I closed all the curtains when I saw the first camera." "But they know which apartment. Someone must have..." "I'm coming home. Right now. Keep the curtains closed. Don't answer the door for anyone." He hung up and turned to find Valerie already there reading his face. "What happened?" "Paparazzi at my apartment. Someone gave them my address." Her expression went from concerned to furious in a heartbeat. "Sophia." Sophia materialized. Already on it. I've got a team en route to clear them. Private security, not police. Quieter. I need to get home, Caleb said. Not in that. Valerie gestured to his tuxedo. They'll recognize you. Sophia, get him changed. Back entrance, now. 5 minutes later, Caleb was in a borrowed staff uniform and being hustled out a service exit into a nondescript sedan. Valerie climbed in beside him despite Sophia's protests. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Valerie's jaw was set. This is my fault. I'll fix it. The drive across town was silent and tense. When they pulled onto Caleb's street, 3 men with cameras were arguing with 2 very large security guards in plain clothes. Sophia made a call. Within seconds, the paparazzi were being escorted away, protesting loudly about freedom of the press. Caleb was out of the car before it fully stopped, taking the stairs 3 at a time. His apartment door opened before he could use his key. Mrs. Chen, her face lined with worry. She never woke up. I checked on her twice. She's fine. Caleb moved past her to Amara's room. His daughter slept peacefully, her stuffed rabbit clutched close, completely unaware of the circus outside. He stood there watching her breathe, his hands shaking with delayed adrenaline. Valerie appeared in the doorway, silent. They tried to use her, Caleb whispered. They tried to make her. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This is what your life is. This is what proximity to you means. Yes, Valerie's voice cracked. Yes, it is. And if you want to walk away, I understand. I'll have Sophia establish a security perimeter around this building. You'll finish the community center job. We'll be professional, distant, safe. Caleb turned to look at her. Really look at her. This woman who'd had everything and trusted nothing, who'd been used and betrayed and still somehow found the courage to reach out. Who'd stood beside him tonight when it would have been easier to step back. Or, he said quietly, we set boundaries so strong nothing gets through. We make it clear Amara is off limits, not negotiable, not ever, and anyone who violates that gets buried. Caleb. I'm not walking away, but I am drawing lines, hard ones. Can you live with that? Valerie's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Yes, absolutely. Whatever you need. Then we keep going, carefully, with our eyes open. He moved back to Amara's bed, pulling the blanket higher. But the second this touches her, we stop, completely, I promise. They stood there in the dim light of a 6-year-old's nightlight. 2 people trying to build something real in a world that wanted to turn everything into performance. Outside, Sophia was coordinating with the building's management. Mrs. Chen was making tea, because that's what she did when the world got messy. And somewhere across town at a gala still in full swing, people were probably already spinning tonight's events into gossip and speculation. But here in this small apartment with its second-hand furniture and walls covered in a child's artwork, something else was happening. Something that looked a lot like choice. Valerie's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and her face went pale. What? Claudia. She released a statement to the press, without my approval. She showed him the screen. A gossip site, already live. Billionaire's new beau, single dad, or gold digger. Valerie King spotted at Heritage Gala with carpenter Caleb Reyes. Sources say King is funding his projects. Daughter 6 allegedly being used as shield for relationship. Full story developing. Caleb read it twice, then once more to make sure he wasn't hallucinating. They're calling Amara a shield. It's Claudia. She must have... Valerie was already dialing. She promised. She swore she wouldn't. The call went to voicemail. Valerie tried again. Again. Sophia appeared in the doorway. Boss, Claudia's not answering anyone, and the story's already been picked up by 3 major outlets. Find her, now. Already tracking her phone. Sophia's expression was grim. You should see this. She held up her tablet. More headlines spawning like viruses. King Holdings air dates down. Carpenter or conman, little girl caught in billionaire romance. They got photos, Sophia said quietly. From tonight. Someone at the gala sold them. Claudia's PR firm distributed them with the press kit. Caleb felt something cold settle in his chest. Photos of what? Sophia hesitated, then showed him. Images of him crouching beside Sophie at the gala. The angle made it look staged performative. The caption read, Reyes showing off parenting skills calculated or genuine, I was helping a lost kid. They're spinning it as you auditioning for the role of Valerie's partner, demonstrating your value. Sophia's voice was gentle. I'm sorry. This is ugly. Valerie was already moving her phone to her ear, leaving rapid-fire instructions for her legal team. When she hung up, her face was set in lines of fury Caleb had never seen. Claudia's fired, effective immediately. I'm issuing a cease and desist to every outlet that published photos. And I'm releasing a statement making it crystal clear that anyone who mentions your daughter by name will face legal action so severe their grandchildren will be paying it off. Valerie. No. This ends now. I don't care about PR. I don't care about optics. I care about... She stopped, her voice breaking. I care about you. About Amara. About doing the right thing for once instead of the profitable thing. Caleb crossed the room and took her hands. They were shaking. We'll handle this, he said. Together. But first you need to breathe. I can't. They said your daughter was... I know. And we'll make them regret it. But right now, Amara's safe. Asleep. Protected. That's what matters. Valerie looked at him like he was speaking a foreign language. Like the concept of what matters had gotten lost somewhere in the machinery of her life. How are you so calm? I'm not. I'm terrified. But I've been terrified before, and I learned that panic helps nothing. He pulled her closer. We make a plan. We execute it. We protect what's ours. What's ours? Valerie repeated the words like testing their weight. I like that. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. For better or worse. Probably worse. Definitely worse. But she was almost smiling. Sophia cleared her throat. I hate to interrupt, but Claudia just posted on her personal Instagram. You're going to want to see this. The post was already viral. A photo of Claudia at what looked like a luxury hotel bar, champagne in hand, caption reading, Sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an empire. No regrets. PR life. #King me queen. She's celebrating, Valerie whispered. She leaked it intentionally. She's proud of this. She's also admitting to violating your employment contract, Sophia said. That post is evidence. My team's already screenshotting everything. Valerie's phone rang, her father's number. She answered on speaker. Have you seen? Richard King's voice was tight with controlled rage. Yes, I'm handling it. The board wants a statement. They're concerned about... Tell the board I'll see them Monday, with my lawyers. Anyone who has a problem with how I'm protecting my personal life can tender their resignation. Valerie's voice was steel. This is non-negotiable, Dad. Silence. Then, good, that's my girl. I'll handle the board. You handle the vultures. He hung up. Caleb watched Valerie transform in real time, watched her go from uncertain to absolute, from questioning to commanding. This was who she was when she stopped performing. When she stopped trying to be what everyone expected. She was magnificent. Sophia, I want a full investigation into who sold those photos. Find them, sue them, make an example. Valerie's orders came rapid fire now. Legal team drafts the cease and desist. I want it sent within the hour, and I want Claudia's contracts voided, all of them. She'll never work in this city again. On it. Sophia disappeared, already making calls. Valerie turned to Caleb. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Always. Do you regret this coming tonight, being with me? Caleb thought about it. Really thought. about the paparazzi and the headlines and the way his daughter's name had been dragged into something she never asked for, about how easy it would be to walk away, to go back to simple poverty, where at least nobody cared what you did. Then he thought about Valerie's hand in his at the gala, about the way she'd stood up to Gavin without flinching, about how she'd climbed into the car without hesitation when Amara was threatened. "I regret that people are cruel," he said finally. "I regret that your employee betrayed you. I regret that my kid's safety got weaponized. But us." He cupped her face gently. "No regrets there." She kissed him, right there in his daughter's doorway with Mrs. Chen tactfully busy in the kitchen, and Sophia's voice audible through the wall coordinating legal warfare. It was brief and soft, and tasted like champagne, and desperation and hope. When they broke apart, Valerie rested her forehead against his. "I'm falling for you," she whispered. "Completely. Terrifyingly. Is that crazy?" "Probably. I'm falling too, so we're both crazy." "Good. Crazy's better than alone." Outside the city hummed with gossip and speculation. Inside, a carpenter and a billionaire stood in a child's bedroom and chose each other anyway. It wasn't smart. It wasn't safe. It wasn't even remotely sane. But it was real. And sometimes, real was enough. The kiss broke something open between them, but reality crashed back in quickly. Sophia appeared in the hallway tablet, glowing with what looked like war room logistics. "Claudia's lawyer just called. She's threatening a wrongful termination suit unless we pay her out. 6-month severance plus NDA money." Sophia's expression was glacial. "She's leveraging the press attention. Says she'll do more interviews if we don't settle." Valerie's face went from soft to sharp in a heartbeat. "Tell her lawyer we have documentation of every confidentiality breach, every unauthorized media contact, and that Instagram post admitting culpability. Tell them they have until 9 a.m. Monday to withdraw all claims, or we counter-sue for damages that will bankrupt her firm." "Already drafted the response. Just needed your approval to send." "Send it. And Sophia." Valerie's voice dropped. "Make it very clear that if Claudia mentions Caleb or Amara in any interview, any post, any conversation with anyone, we don't just sue. We destroy." Sophia smiled cold and professional. "I'll make sure the message is received." She disappeared again, leaving Caleb and Valerie in the narrow hallway. Mrs. Chen had quietly retreated to the living room, giving them space, while still maintaining protective distance from Amara's room. "You're kind of terrifying when you're angry," Caleb said. "Good. I need to be terrifying right now." Valerie sagged against the wall, exhaustion finally catching up to her adrenaline. "I'm sorry. This is what my life is. Crisis management and legal threats, and people who see relationships as transactions." "I know. I'm choosing it anyway." "Why?" The question came out raw. "You could walk away right now, take the job money, finish the project, move on. Find someone normal who doesn't come with paparazzi and PR nightmares." Caleb thought about how to answer that. Thought about all the rational reasons he should run. Then thought about the way Valerie had climbed into that car without hesitation when Amara was threatened, the way she'd stood up to Gavin, the way she'd looked at his daughter's lumpy turtle like it was museum-worthy art. "Because you're not a transaction to me either," he said finally. "You're just Valerie, complicated and scared and trying really hard to do the right thing. That's enough." Her eyes went bright. "I don't know how to do this. Normal relationships. I've spent so long protecting myself that I've forgotten how to. We'll figure it out. Together. With probably a lot of mistakes along the way." Mrs. Chen appeared with 2 cups of tea, her timing impeccable. "You should both sit. Drink. The world can wait 5 minutes." They moved to Caleb's small living room, his worn couch that he'd bought second-hand, the coffee table Amara had decorated with marker drawings, the bookshelf full of library books and woodworking magazines. Valerie looked around like she was cataloging details, her expression soft. This is nice. It feels lived in. That's a polite way of saying small and messy. No, I mean it feels like a home. Like people actually exist here, not just stage their lives. She curled into the corner of the couch, the midnight blue gown incongruous against his faded upholstery. My apartment's twice the size of this building, and I hate being there. It's beautiful and empty and perfect, like a hotel you're trapped in forever. Caleb sat beside her, their knees touching. You could change that. I wouldn't know where to start. Start with one thing that makes you happy. Build from there. Valerie was quiet for a long moment, staring into her tea. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. You make me happy. Amara makes me happy. This, she gestured vaguely at the apartment. This mess and chaos and realness makes me happy. Then maybe spend more time here. Your neighbors would love that. Paparazzi camped outside, security details, the works. Sophia already said she'd set up a perimeter. Besides, Mrs. Chen's been dying for excitement. She'll probably start charging them for bathroom access. That surprised a laugh out of Valerie. You're ridiculous. You like it. I really do. Sophia returned at midnight with updates. Claudia's lawyer had withdrawn the wrongful termination threat within an hour, citing miscommunication. The gossip sites had started pulling articles after receiving cease and desist letters backed by Richard King's legal army. 3 photographers had been identified selling photos from the gala, all now facing lawsuits. Gavin Rourke's also been formally expelled from the Heritage Club, Sophia added. Board voted unanimously. Apparently Richard called in some favors. Valerie closed her eyes. My father's going to hold this over me forever. Probably. But he's Team Caleb, so there are worse fates. Sophia checked her watch. I've got a car waiting downstairs whenever you're ready. We should get you home. Tomorrow's going to be intense. Tomorrow's Sunday, Caleb pointed out. Crisis doesn't take weekends. But Sophia's expression softened. Though, boss, you should actually rest. You look like hell. Thanks, Sophia. Your compassion is overwhelming. It's why you pay me. Sophia headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Caleb's good for you. First time I've seen you choose yourself over the company. Keep doing that. After she left, Valerie showed no signs of moving. She just sat there, shoes kicked off, dress rumpled, looking more human than Caleb had ever seen her. I should go, she said without moving. You should. I don't want to. I know. She turned to face him fully. Ask me something real. Something you've been wanting to know, but haven't asked. Caleb considered. There were 1,000 questions about her life. Her past, the fiancé Richard had mentioned. But only one really mattered. Why me, really? No polite answer. The truth. Valerie was quiet for so long, Caleb thought maybe he'd pushed too far. Then she spoke, her words careful and deliberate. 6 months ago, I had a panic attack in the middle of a board meeting. Full-blown, couldn't breathe, thought I was dying. Had to be escorted out by security. The board pretended it never happened. My father increased my medication. Sophia added more therapy sessions to my calendar. And I just kept going. Because that's what you do when you're Valerie King. You perform even when you're drowning. She looked down at her hands. That morning at the café, I wasn't there by accident. I go there every Saturday because it's the one place nobody recognizes me. The 1 hour a week I can just exist. Be nobody. And then that man started bothering me and I froze. Because I'm so used to handling everything through lawyers and PR that I'd forgotten people could just intervene. Just be decent. Her voice cracked. You didn't know who I was. Didn't want anything from me. Just saw someone who needed help and helped. That's so rare in my world, it felt like seeing color after years of black and white. And then I watched you drive away to pick up your daughter, and I thought that's what love looks like. Not the performance of it. The actual thing. Caleb felt his throat tighten. Valerie. I'm not done. She met his eyes, hers bright with unshed tears. I looked into you because I had to know if it was real. If you were real. And the more I learned, the more I realized you were the most real thing I'd encountered in years. A man who gave up career advancement to be there for his kid. Who volunteers at a community center for free. Who builds things with his hands and doesn't apologize for sawdust on his clothes. She reached for his hand. So, why you? Because you remind me who I wanted to be before I learned to be afraid. Before I learned that people only see dollar signs when they look at me. You see Valerie, just Valerie. That's worth everything. The silence between them felt enormous and fragile. Caleb squeezed her hand, trying to find words adequate to what she'd just given him. I see you, he said quietly. I see someone trying really hard to be good in a world that rewards being ruthless. Someone who's lonely and scared but still showing up. Someone who... He stopped, took a breath. Someone I'm falling in love with even though it's too soon and probably stupid and definitely terrifying. Valerie's breath hitched. That's the first time you've said that word. Love? Yeah. Is it too much? No, it's... She laughed shaky. It's perfect and terrifying, and I don't know what to do with it. We could start by admitting we're both in this, whatever this becomes. Even with the paparazzi and the lawsuits, and the fact that people are going to say horrible things about us. Especially with all that, because that's the real test, isn't it? Anyone can love someone when it's easy. We get to figure out if we can love each other when it's hard. Valerie kissed him again, slower this time, deeper. When they broke apart, she was crying and smiling simultaneously. I should really go now, before I completely fall apart on your couch. You can fall apart here if you need to. It's a judgment-free zone. Tempting, but I need to face tomorrow prepared, which means sleep and strategy and probably several legal briefs. She stood reluctantly, smoothing down her dress. Walk me down. They descended the 3 flights in comfortable silence. Mrs. Chen having already retired to the guest room, Caleb had set up on his living room couch. The black town car waited at the curb. Sophia in the driver's seat, looking alert despite the late hour. Thank you, Valerie said at the building entrance. For tonight, for everything. Thank you for showing up. Always. She touched his face gently. I'll call you tomorrow. We need to figure out next steps. Press strategy security protocols, how to... Valerie. Tomorrow Sunday. Let's just be. Figure out the crisis Monday. I don't know how to just be. Then I'll teach you. Bring breakfast, something that doesn't cost $50. She laughed. Deal. 9 too early. Perfect. He watched the car pull away standing on the sidewalk until the taillights disappeared. His phone buzzed immediately, a text from Valerie already. Thank you for not running. Most people would have. He typed back. I'm not most people. You'll figure that out eventually. I'm counting on it. Sunday morning arrived wrapped in the kind of bright sunshine that felt inappropriate given the chaos of the previous night. Caleb was up at 6:30. Old construction habits died hard, making coffee and trying not to think about the fact that a billionaire was bringing him breakfast in 2 hours. Amara wandered out at 7, her hair a mess, dragging her stuffed rabbit. Is today a pancake day? Valerie's bringing breakfast? The pretty lady from the art show. Amara's eyes lit up. Is she your girlfriend? Caleb almost choked on his coffee. We're that's complicated baby. Mrs. Chen says when adults say complicated, it means yes, but they're scared to admit it. Mrs. Chen talks too much. Mrs. Chen is very wise, the older woman called from the guest room. Also, I'm making pancakes anyway, because rich people never bring enough food. Valerie arrived at 9:02 with paper bags from a local bakery and a nervous energy that made her seem younger, less certain. She'd dressed down jeans, a simple sweater hair in a ponytail. No jewelry, no armor. Amara launched herself at Valerie the moment she stepped inside. You came back. I promised I would. I brought cinnamon rolls and chocolate croissants and something called a ham and cheese Queen Amman that the baker said would change my life. What's a county Amman? I have no idea. Let's find out together. They spread breakfast across Caleb's small table, the fancy bakery items mixing with Mrs. Chen's pancakes and the cheap coffee Caleb preferred. It shouldn't have worked, this collision of worlds, but somehow it did. Amara told Valerie about her week in great detail. The spelling test she aced, the boy who pulled her hair at recess, the book about dolphins she was reading. Valerie listened like Amara was discussing matters of national importance, asking follow-up questions that made Amara's eyes shine. Caleb watched them together and felt something settle in his chest. This could work. Against all odds, this could actually work. After breakfast, Amara pulled Valerie to her room to show off her art collection. Mrs. Chen tactfully found errands to run, and Caleb was left alone with his thoughts and his phone, which kept buzzing with messages. The first was from Torres. Saw the news. You doing okay? Need anything? Then Maria, his cousin. TIO. What the hell? Call me. Then a number he didn't recognize. Mr. Reyes. This is Jennifer Wong from Harbor Gate Chronicle. I'd love to interview you about... He deleted that one without reading further. Sophia's text was more ominous. Press is camping outside King Holdings building. Valerie needs to make a statement Monday. She wants you there. Your call. Caleb stared at that message for a long moment. Being there meant going public, meant claiming this relationship in front of cameras and journalists and the entire city. Meant Amara's life would never be fully private again. But not being there meant leaving Valerie to face it alone. And he'd already decided he wasn't doing that. He typed back, I'll be there. What time? 10 a.m. Bring your courage. The vultures are circling. Valerie emerged from Amara's room 20 minutes later, looking overwhelmed in the best way. She's incredible. The way her mind works, she sees patterns in everything. Colors, numbers, stories. She'd be amazing at... Valerie stopped herself. At what? I was going to say art therapy programs. I know a few. But that's overstepping, isn't it? Caleb thought about it. A week ago, it would have been overstepping. But they'd crossed so many lines already. What was one more? Tell me about them. The programs. Valerie's face lit up. There's one at Harbor Gate Children's Hospital. They work with kids dealing with trauma, illness, anxiety. Use art as processing. Amara's got this natural empathy. The way she builds narratives around her characters gives them feelings and stories. That's advanced emotional intelligence. She's 6. Exactly. Most kids that age are still figuring out their own emotions, not projecting complex internal lives onto turtles. Valerie pulled out her phone, showing him photos of bright studios and children painting. It's free, run by volunteers. They'd love someone like her. Caleb looked at the images, his chest tight. How do you know about this? Valerie went very still, set down her phone carefully. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you before, but I was scared you'd... She stopped. Started again. The hospital program. I fund it. Anonymously. Have for 3 years. Okay. That's really good of you. That's not the part I need to tell you. Valerie met his eyes, fear and honesty warring in her expression. 2 years ago, there was a little girl admitted to the pediatric unit, 6 months old. Respiratory infection that wouldn't respond to treatment. Her father was a single dad working construction, no insurance. The hospital was going to transfer her to county when he couldn't pay. Caleb's blood went cold. Valerie. I was there for a board meeting. Saw him in the hallway, just broken, holding this tiny baby and trying not to cry because he didn't know what to do. And I couldn't walk past that. So I paid the bill, anonymously, through the hospital's charity fund. And when the baby needed follow-up care, I made sure it was covered. All of it. The world tilted. Caleb's vision blurred at the edges. That was Amara. Yes. You've been paying for Amara's health care for 2 years. Yes. Valerie's hands were shaking. I didn't know it was you. Not until Sophia ran the background check and I saw Amara's medical history and I recognized the dates and I just... Her voice broke. I knew. And I didn't tell you because I was scared you'd think it was manipulation, that I'd orchestrated this somehow. But I swear, Caleb, I swear I had no idea who you were until after the café. This was just... coincidence. The word came out flat. Cosmic intervention. Fate. I don't know what to call it, but I need you to believe me. I didn't pursue you because of Amara. I didn't offer you the job to create obligation. When I realized it was the same little girl, the same father, I thought... She was crying now, not bothering to hide it. I thought maybe the universe was giving me a sign that some things are meant to be. Caleb stood frozen, his mind trying to process information that didn't fit together. The hospital bills that had mysteriously zeroed out. The charity fund administrator who'd called it a community angel. The fact that Amara had gotten the best care, the specialists, the follow-up that had saved her life. Valerie had done that. This woman sitting in his living room, terrified he'd hate her for it. You saved my daughter's life. The doctors saved her life. I made sure they could do their jobs. You paid thousands of dollars for a stranger's kid. For a baby who deserved to live. For a father who loved her enough to break himself trying to save her. Valerie's voice was barely audible. I know what it's like to feel helpless. To have all the money in the world and still feel powerless. But that day, paying that bill, I felt like my money actually mattered. Like I mattered. Not as a king, just as a human being who could help. Caleb sat down heavily, his legs suddenly unable to hold him. Why didn't you tell me before now? Because I was terrified of this. Of you looking at me like I'm looking at you right now, like you don't know whether to thank me or hate me. Like everything between us is suddenly contaminated by debt. I don't... Caleb stopped, tried to organize thoughts that were spinning too fast. I don't hate you. I could never hate you for saving Amara. But I need a minute to process this. Valerie stood immediately. I'll go. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. Don't go. The words came out sharper than he meant. Please. Just give me a minute to think. She sat back down, perched on the edge of the couch, like she might bolt at any second. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Caleb thought about those months after Amara got sick. The terror of watching his baby struggle to breathe. The bills piling up faster than he could count them. The moment the hospital administrator had called him into an office and said the words charity fund like they were magic. Like prayers got answered sometimes. He'd cried in that office, thanked God and the universe and whatever forces conspired to save his daughter. He'd never thought to ask who. Never imagined it was a person, a woman who'd been walking past and couldn't look away. The same woman who'd later get harassed in a café. Who he'd help without knowing she'd already helped him in the most fundamental way possible. Caleb. Valerie's voice was small, scared. Say something, please. He looked at her, really looked at her. This woman, who'd had every reason to walk past a struggling stranger in a hospital hallway. Who'd given away money most people couldn't imagine having. Who'd done it anonymously, expecting nothing back. Who'd found him again by pure chance and fallen for him without ever using her secret as leverage. You could have told me, he said quietly, when you offered me the job, when things started between us. You could have used it, made me feel obligated, made me owe you. I never wanted you to owe me. I wanted... She stopped searching for words. I wanted you to choose me because you wanted to. Not because you felt indebted. Not because I bought your affection with Amara's healthcare. Just because. And that's why you're telling me now. I'm telling you now because we're getting serious. Because if we keep going, if this becomes real, I can't have this secret between us. You deserve to know everything, even the things that might make you walk away. Caleb stood and crossed to the window looking out at his street. The same street he'd driven down 2 years ago with Amara, barely breathing in her car seat, praying to anyone who'd listen. The same street he'd returned to after the hospital administrator said, "It's taken care of," feeling like he'd been handed a miracle. He'd been handed Valerie. Even then. Even before he knew her name. When he turned back, she was watching him with an expression that broke his heart. Fear and hope and resignation all tangled together. "I'm not walking away," he said. Valerie's breath caught. "You're not." "I'm not. But I need you to understand something." He moved back to the couch, sat beside her, took her shaking hands in his. "You saved my daughter. I will never stop being grateful for that. Never. But that gratitude can't be the foundation of what's between us. If we're going to do this, really do this, it has to be because we choose each other. Not because you helped me once, not because I owe you. Choice. Every single day. I want that. God, I want that so much. Then we start now, fresh, everything on the table. No more secrets." "No more secrets." Valerie squeezed his hands. "I promise." They sat there for a long moment, the weight of revelation settling between them like snow cold. At first, then somehow insulating, protective. Amara's voice called from her bedroom. "Daddy, can Valerie stay for lunch?" Caleb looked at Valerie. "Can you?" "Yes, if you're sure." "I'm sure." "But Valerie—" He waited until she met his eyes. "Thank you. For Amara. For giving me more time with her. That's everything." She nodded, not trusting her voice. They spent the rest of Sunday in the comfortable chaos of Amara's world, making lunch, watching a movie about dolphins, building an elaborate pillow fort in the living room that Valerie engineered with surprising structural competence. It should have been weird, this blending of lives, but it felt natural. Right. Mrs. Chen returned around 3 and just smiled when she saw Valerie on the floor, surrounded by pillows, listening to Amara explain the complex political system of her stuffed animal kingdom. "That one's staying," Mrs. Chen whispered to Caleb in the kitchen. "Yeah," Caleb agreed. "I think she is." Evening came too fast. Valerie had to leave for a dinner meeting. She couldn't avoid something about the foundation board and Richard's insistence she attend. At the door, Amara hugged Valerie goodbye, like it was the most natural thing in the world. "Will you come back?" Amara asked. "If your dad says it's okay." "He says it's okay. He smiles funny when you're here, like when he's really happy but trying not to show it." Caleb's face heated. "Amara, what you do?" Valerie laughed, the sound bright and genuine. "Then I'll definitely come back. Funny smiles are the best kind." After she left, Caleb got Amara ready for bed, fielding questions about whether Valerie was going to be around more often, whether they could show her the community center when it was done, whether maybe Valerie could come to the school talent show next month. "You really like her, huh?" Caleb asked as he tucked the covers around his daughter. "She's nice, and she listens for real. Not like how adults sometimes pretend to listen, but they're really thinking about other stuff." Amara yawned. "Plus, she's pretty, and she makes you happy. So yeah, I like her." "Good. Because I think she's going to be around a lot." "Good." Amara's eyes were already closing. "Love you, Daddy." "Love you too, monster. Sweet dreams." He turned off the light and stood in the doorway watching his daughter sleep. The same daughter Valerie had saved without knowing. The same daughter who'd brought them together through a series of coincidences that felt almost too perfect to be random. His phone buzzed. "Valerie, thank you for today, for not running, for letting me be part of your world. Thank you for saving Amara, for being honest, for choosing us. Every day. I promise. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Monday morning arrived with the weight of a reckoning. Caleb dropped Amara at school with extra security that Sophia had arranged, discreet but present. Then he drove to King Holdings, his stomach churning with anticipation. The building was surrounded by news vans, cameras, reporters who looked hungry for blood. Sophia met him at a side entrance, guiding him through a maze of hallways to a conference room where Valerie waited. She looked different in her element power suit, hairstyled, makeup perfect. The armor was back. But when she saw Caleb, something in her face softened. "Ready?" she asked. "Not even close. But let's do this anyway." They descended to the main lobby where a podium had been set up. Cameras flashed the moment they appeared. Questions erupted from the press corps like weapons. "Ms. King, is it true you're dating your employee?" "Mr. Reyes, how does it feel to be called a gold digger? Is the child being used as a sympathy tactic?" Valerie stepped to the microphone, her expression calm and absolute. Caleb stood slightly behind her, trying to look confident and probably failing. "I'll make a brief statement. I won't be taking questions." Valerie's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "My personal life is exactly that personal. However, given the recent media speculation, I want to make several things unequivocally clear." She pulled out a prepared statement, but then set it aside, looked directly into the cameras. "Caleb Reyes is someone I respect deeply, someone I care about. The circumstances of how we met are irrelevant to anyone except us. What is relevant is this. His daughter is a child, a 6-year-old child who deserves privacy and protection. Any media outlet, any individual, any organization that publishes her name, her image, or any identifying information will face immediate legal action. This is not negotiable." The crowd erupted. Valerie spoke over them. "Furthermore, anyone attempting to use a child, any child, for clicks, for profit, for entertainment, should be ashamed. I'm ashamed I didn't make this boundary clear from the beginning. I'm making it clear now. Children are off limits, always, no exceptions." She paused, letting that sink in. "As for my employee status with Mr. Reyes, yes, I hired him to oversee a project. Yes, we've developed a personal relationship. These facts are not mutually exclusive. I'm allowed to have a life beyond my company. So is he. And we're choosing to build that life together on our terms without public commentary or permission." Someone shouted, "What about the accusation that he's using his daughter?" Valerie's expression went ice cold. "That question is exactly why I'm done with this press conference. Any outlet that runs with that narrative will never receive another statement, another interview, or another moment of access to King Holdings or the King Foundation. We're done here." She turned and walked away, Caleb following. The press room exploded behind them. In the elevator, Valerie sagged against the wall. "That was horrible. That was perfect. I probably made it worse. You drew a line. That's what matters." Caleb pulled her into a hug, not caring that they were in a building full of her employees. "I'm proud of you." "Yeah. Yeah." The elevator doors opened on the executive floor. Richard King stood waiting, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "Dad?" Valerie started. "That was the most spine I've seen from you in 5 years," Richard said. "About damn time." He extended his hand to Caleb. "Welcome to the family, son. It's about to get worse before it gets better. Hope you're ready." Caleb shook it, feeling like he'd just signed a contract in blood. "Ready as I'll ever be." "Good enough." Richard nodded. "Now get out of my building, both of you. You look exhausted. Go rest. The wolves will still be here tomorrow." They left through the back exit, Sophia clearing their path. The car ride back to Caleb's neighborhood was quiet, both of them processing. "I need to tell you something else," Valerie said, as they pulled up to his building. Caleb's stomach dropped. More secrets. "Not a secret, a decision." She turned to face him. "I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations, promoting my VP to CEO. I'll stay on the board, handle foundation work, but I'm done running myself into the ground for a company that doesn't need me to function." "Valerie." "I'm not quitting. I'm choosing balance, choosing life, choosing—" She stopped. "Choosing you, us, whatever we're building." Caleb felt his throat tighten. You don't have to do that for me. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I've spent 32 years performing for everyone else, and I'm tired. I want to wake up without panic attacks. I want to have breakfast with a 6-year-old who explains turtle politics. I want to build something that isn't about profit margins. What do you want to build? I don't know yet, but I want to figure it out with you. Caleb kissed her. Right there in the car with Sophia, probably watching in the rearview mirror, and his neighbors definitely watching from windows. Kissed her like she was oxygen, and he'd been holding his breath for years. When they broke apart, Valerie was crying and smiling simultaneously. So what now? She asked. Now we take it one day at a time. Figure out boundaries. Build trust. Probably screw up a lot. That sounds terrifying and perfect. That's us in a nutshell. They sat there as the afternoon light shifted, two people choosing each other despite every rational reason not to. It wasn't smart. It wasn't safe. It wasn't anything close to the fairy tale people would try to make it. But it was real. Messy and complicated, and absolutely terrifyingly real. And sometimes, Caleb thought that was better than any story you could write. I'll weave a narrative that transforms local challenges into a powerful story of redemption, community healing, and personal growth. The community center will emerge as a beacon of hope, demonstrating how targeted social innovation can reshape entire neighborhoods. Simultaneously, the public reckoning for Gavin and Claudia will serve as a critical moment of institutional accountability, showing that meaningful change requires both structural reforms and individual responsibility. The aftermath came in waves. Tuesday brought headlines that were slightly less vicious. Wednesday brought a leaked memo from Gavin's lawyers, withdrawing all legal threats after Sophia's team produced evidence of his CPS complaint. Thursday brought Claudia's public statement, a carefully worded non-apology that satisfied no one but ended the immediate crisis. But Friday brought something different. Caleb was at the community center site working with the framing crew on the new woodshop space when Amara's school called. His heart stopped until the principal clarified, not an emergency. Just could he come in for a meeting? He arrived to find Amara sitting in the office looking small but defiant. Mrs. Thompson, her teacher, wore an expression caught between sympathy and exasperation. Mr. Reyes, thank you for coming. The principal, Ms. Rivera, gestured to a chair. There was an incident at recess. Caleb's protective instincts flared. What kind of incident? Another student made comments about Amara, about your relationship with Ms. King, called her... Ms. Rivera glanced at Amara. Called her some unkind names. Amara responded by pushing him. He said Daddy was a gold digger. Amara's voice cracked. He said we were poor, and Valerie only liked us because we were charity cases, and I told him to stop and he wouldn't. And I didn't mean to push so hard. Caleb knelt in front of his daughter, heartbreaking. Did you hurt him? He scraped his knee. But Mr. Reyes... Mrs. Thompson leaned forward. The other boy, Tyler, has been saying these things all week. We've addressed it with his parents, but they've been difficult. They read the tabloid coverage and apparently formed opinions. So my daughter gets punished for defending herself. No one's being punished, Ms. Rivera said quickly. Both children are getting counseling support. But Mr. Reyes, I need to ask, is Amara okay? At home with all the media attention? The question hung there loaded with implication. Caleb felt his jaw tighten. My daughter is loved, safe, and protected. The media attention is temporary. Our family is permanent. Of course, I just wanted to ensure that I'm a fit parent, that Valerie King's presence in our life isn't damaging my child. Caleb's voice stayed level, but his eyes were hard. My daughter pushed another kid because he parroted garbage his parents probably said at dinner. That's a discipline issue, not a welfare concern, unless you're suggesting otherwise. Ms. Rivera backtracked quickly. Not at all. I apologize if it came across that way. Amara's a wonderful student. We just want to support her through this challenging time. They left with a planned counseling sessions for Amara, clear boundaries around gossip at school, and a strongly worded letter to Tyler's parents about bullying. But Caleb's hands shook the entire drive home. "Am I in trouble?" Amara asked quietly. "No, baby. You defended yourself. I'm proud of you for standing up. But next time, use your words before your hands, okay?" "I tried words. He wouldn't listen." "I know. Some people don't listen until they have to. But you can't push people every time they're mean. Promise me you'll try talking to a teacher first." "Promise." She was quiet for a moment. "Daddy, are you a gold digger?" Caleb pulled over, unable to drive through that question. He turned to face his daughter fully. "No. I work hard. I pay our bills. I take care of you. Valerie helps because she wants to, not because I asked. And people who say mean things, they're usually scared or jealous or just small. You don't have to let their smallness make you small. You understand?" Amara nodded solemnly. "Mrs. Chen says jealous people are just sad people wearing mean masks." "Mrs. Chen is very wise. Can we get ice cream anyway? Even though I pushed Tyler..." Despite everything, Caleb smiled. "Yeah, we can get ice cream." That evening, after Amara was asleep, Caleb called Valerie. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey, how was your day?" "Amara pushed a kid at school because he called me a gold digger." Silence. Then, "I'm coming over." "You don't have to. I'm already in the car." She arrived 20 minutes later with Thai food and the kind of grim determination that meant she'd already formulated a plan. They ate on the couch while Caleb told her everything. "I want to sue the parents," Valerie said when he finished. "That's not productive. It would make me feel better." "You can't sue everyone who's mean to us, Valerie. We'd spend our entire lives in court." "Then I'll buy the school and fire anyone who makes Amara feel unsafe." Caleb laughed despite himself. "That's very sweet and completely insane." "I'm serious. King Foundation could make a significant donation. Earmark it for anti-bullying programs. Make it about more than just Amara." "That's actually a good idea. I have those occasionally." Valerie set down her food. "I hate that she's going through this because of me." "She's going through this because people are cruel. That's not on you." "It feels like it is." "Then feel it and keep showing up anyway. That's what we do." Caleb pulled her closer. "Besides, Amara adores you. A little playground drama isn't going to change that." As if summoned, Amara appeared in the hallway, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Valerie's here." "Sorry, baby. Did we wake you?" "No, I had a bad dream." Amara padded over to the couch, climbing up between them without hesitation. "I dreamed you went away and didn't come back." Valerie's arms wrapped around the little girl instinctively. "I'm not going anywhere. I promise." People say promises they don't keep. Not this people. This people keeps her promises. Valerie pressed a kiss to Amara's hair. "Want to know a secret?" "Yeah." "I've been looking for a family my whole life, and I think I just found one, so I'm staying. For as long as you'll have me." Amara tilted her head back, studying Valerie's face with that unnerving 6-year-old perception. "Forever? If forever wants me, then yes. Forever wants you." Amara snuggled deeper. "Right, Daddy?" Caleb's throat was too tight to speak. He just nodded. They sat like that for a long time, the three of them tangled together on a second-hand couch in a too-small apartment building. Something that looked nothing like the fairy tale people expected, but felt more real than anything Caleb had ever known. The next morning brought an unexpected visitor. Richard King stood at Caleb's door at 8 a.m., looking uncomfortable in casual clothes, like he'd forgotten how to dress down. "Mr. King, sir, is everything—" "Everyone's fine. May I come in?" Caleb stepped aside, hyper-aware of the breakfast dishes still on the table, the laundry basket waiting to be folded, the general chaos of life with a 6-year-old. Richard surveyed the apartment with the same assessing gaze he'd used at the gala. But this time something softened in his expression. Valerie was here last night. It wasn't a question. Caleb nodded anyway. Good. She needed to be. Richard moved to the window looking out at the street. My daughter hasn't been happy in years. Successful, yes. Powerful, absolutely. But happy, that's been missing. Until you. Sir. Let me finish. Richard turned back. I did what you'd expect. Had you investigated thoroughly. Background check, financial history, every parking ticket, every social media post. Sophia's work was amateur compared to what I commissioned. Caleb felt cold spread through his chest. And you're exactly what you appear to be. A good man doing his best with limited resources and unlimited heart. A father who gave up advancement to be present. A person who sees past wealth to humanity. Richard pulled an envelope from his jacket. This is for you. I don't want money. It's not money, it's documentation. Proof that every investigation cleared you. Proof that I trust you with my daughter. Proof that if anyone tries to smear you or use your past against you, they're fighting the full weight of King resources. Richard set the envelope on the table. Welcome to the family, Caleb. For real this time. He left before Caleb could respond, leaving him standing in his kitchen, holding documentation that felt like both vindication and enormous responsibility. Amara appeared still in her pajamas. Who was that? Valerie's dad. Is he nice? I think so. In a terrifying way. Like how you're nice in a scary way when someone's mean to me. Exactly like that. The weeks that followed developed a rhythm. Valerie started spending 3, then 4, then 5 nights a week at the apartment. She learned to navigate Amara's bedtime routine, to make pancakes that were only slightly burned, to read stories with all the character voices. She attended parent-teacher conferences and soccer practice and the spring concert where Amara sang off-key with tremendous enthusiasm. The community center project progressed faster than Caleb expected. The woodshop took shape, real tools, proper safety equipment, workbenches built to last. He hired 2 assistants, both former students from his volunteer classes. Watched them grow into the roles with pride that felt almost paternal. One afternoon in late May, Valerie showed up at the site with Sophia and 2 people in expensive suits. We need to talk, Valerie said. Somewhere private. They gathered in the unfinished office space. Caleb's stomach nodded. This felt formal. Official. Bad. These are attorneys from Morrison and Associates, Valerie began. They've been handling the Gavin Rourke situation. There's been a development. The lead attorney, a woman named Patricia Morrison, opened her briefcase. Mr. Rourke has agreed to a settlement. Full admission of wrongdoing regarding the CPS complaint, public apology, and a substantial donation to child advocacy organizations. In exchange, we drop the defamation suit. Why would you drop the suit? Caleb asked. He deserves to be buried. Because dragging this out means more publicity, more invasive coverage, more risk to your daughter's privacy. Patricia's expression was sympathetic. This way it ends, cleanly. Gavin admits fault, pays consequences, and you can move on. What about Claudia Voss? Ms. Voss lost her PR firm. 3 major clients dropped her after the scandal. She's facing professional ruin without us adding legal action. Sophia's smile was sharp. Sometimes the court of public opinion is harsher than any judge. Caleb looked at Valerie. You're okay with this, letting them off easy. I'm okay with protecting what matters. Punishing them feels good in theory, but in practice it means more months of legal battles, more press coverage, more chances for someone to dig into Amara's life. I'm choosing peace, if you'll let me. It was the if you'll let me that did it. This woman who could crush people with her wealth and power, asking permission, choosing his daughter's well-being over revenge. Okay, we settle. We move on. Patricia nodded. I'll have the papers drawn up. Mr. Rourke's apology will be published next week." After they left, Caleb pulled Valerie aside. "Thank you for putting Amara first. Always. That's non-negotiable now." The apology, when it came, was everything Caleb could have wanted. Gavin Rourke released a statement admitting he'd filed a false CPS report out of misplaced jealousy and poor judgment. He apologized to Caleb, to Amara, to the child welfare system he'd abused. The donation to child advocacy groups was public and substantial. The press coverage shifted almost overnight. Suddenly, Caleb wasn't a gold digger, he was a devoted father. Valerie wasn't a foolish billionaire, she was a woman who valued character over status. Their relationship wasn't a scandal, it was a modern love story. It felt surreal and uncomfortable, like wearing someone else's clothes. But at least the narrative was closer to truth now. In June, the community center held its grand opening. The whole neighborhood turned out, families Caleb had known for years, kids he'd taught, local business owners, city officials, and prominently, visibly, the King family. Richard cut the ribbon with Caleb, both of them wielding comically oversized scissors. Eleanor gave a speech about community investment that made several attendees tear up. And Valerie stood with Amara, both of them beaming with pride. The woodshop was the crown jewel, bright, spacious, equipped with everything Caleb had ever dreamed of. A plaque by the door read, "In honor of every parent who builds a better future. One board at a time." Amara tugged Valerie's hand. "Did you make that sign?" "I did. You like it?" "I love it. Daddy's going to cry when he sees it." "Good. He deserves to cry happy tears." After the official ceremonies, after the speeches and the tours and the local news coverage, the crowd dispersed. Caleb found Valerie in the woodshop, running her hand along one of the workbenches he'd built. "This is beautiful work. Learned from the best. My grandfather was a carpenter, taught me everything before he died. He'd be proud." "I hope so." Caleb moved beside her. "Thank you for making this possible. For believing in it. In me. Thank you for letting me be part of something that matters. Something real." Valerie turned to face him fully. "I have something to tell you. Another decision I've made." His stomach dropped. Good decision or scary decision? Both, probably. She took a breath. "I'm creating a new foundation, separate from my family's. It's called Safe Spaces, funding bystander intervention training in public places, coffee shops, restaurants, parks, teaching people to step in when they see harassment, to be like you were that morning." Caleb's chest tightened. "Valerie. Sophia's going to run it. She's stepping away from security work to do this full time. We're launching in Harbor Gate first, then expanding. And I want..." She paused. "I want you to be on the advisory board. Help us design programs that actually work, that teach real intervention, not corporate lip service." "I'm not qualified to." "You're the most qualified person I know. You did it without training, without hesitation. You saw someone who needed help, and you helped. That's what we need. That authenticity." Before Caleb could respond, Amara's voice echoed through the space. "Daddy, Valerie. Come see. They have cookies shaped like hammers." They followed her to the community room where the celebration continued. Watched their daughter, because somehow, sometime in the past months, Amara had become their daughter, devour cookies and tell anyone who'd listen about the butterfly painting she was making for the center's art room. As evening fell and the crowd thinned, Richard found them again. This time, Eleanor was with him, her smile warm and genuine. "Walk with us," Richard said. It still wasn't a request. They walked through the center's grounds, the summer air warm and promising. Richard and Eleanor moved slightly ahead, speaking quietly. Then Richard stopped and turned back. "Valerie, I'm stepping down as chairman of King Holdings." Valerie froze. "What?" "Not immediately. 18 months. Transition period. The board's been briefed. They're supportive." Richard's expression was calm, resolved. "I'm 70. I've been running this empire for 43 years. I'm tired. And you've proven you don't need it to define you. That's when I knew you were ready. Dad, I told you I'm stepping back from operations. I can't. You're not taking over as CEO. Marcus is perfect for that role. But I want you as chairman. Strategic vision. Foundation oversight. The parts you're actually good at and passionate about. Richard's voice gentled. You'll have control without the daily grind. Freedom to build your safe spaces project. Freedom to... He glanced at Caleb and Amara. To have a life. Eleanor stepped forward, taking Valerie's hands. We just want you happy, darling. However that looks. Whoever that includes. Valerie's eyes were bright with tears. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Say you'll build something that matters to you. Say you'll bring this good man and his remarkable daughter to Sunday dinner more often because your father's grown fond of them and won't admit it. I admit it freely, Richard said gruffly. Amara's got more sense than half my board of directors. They left shortly after, but the weight of Richard's offer hung in the air. Caleb waited until they were back at the apartment, Amara asleep, before bringing it up. Are you going to do it? Take the chairman role. Valerie was quiet for a long moment, curled against him on the couch. I don't know. It's not what I imagined when I said I wanted to step back, but it's my family's legacy. My grandfather built that company. My father grew it. Maybe there's a way to honor that without sacrificing myself to it. There is. If anyone can figure it out, you can. You have a lot of faith in me. You've earned it. Every day. Showing up, choosing us, being real. Caleb kissed her temple. Whatever you decide, I'm here. We're here. I'm choosing it. The chairman role. On my terms. Work-life balance written into the bylaws. No more 80-hour weeks. No more sacrificing everything for profit margins. She sat up, decision made. I'm going to make it work, all of it. The company, the foundation, us. Because I refuse to believe I have to choose. You don't. Not anymore. 2 months later, in August, the Safe Spaces Foundation officially launched. The press conference was held at Kindling Coffee, the place where it all started. The owner, Marco, beamed with pride as cameras filled his shop. The same booth where Valerie had been harassed now held a small plaque, where good people stand up. Sophia gave the official remarks, professional and passionate. Outlined the program, free training for business owners and employees, public awareness campaigns, partnerships with local police for nonviolent intervention. Funding secured for 5 years, expandable to other cities. Valerie spoke next, brief but powerful. Talked about the morning someone stepped in when she needed it. About normalizing intervention. About creating communities where people looked out for each other. Then, to Caleb's complete shock, she called him to the microphone. I'm not a public speaker, he protested. You don't have to be. Just tell them why you did it. Why you helped that morning. Caleb looked out at the cameras, the reporters, the community members packed into the café. Felt his mouth go dry. Then spotted Amara, sitting with Mrs. Chen in the back, giving him 2 thumbs up. I helped because my daughter was watching, he said simply. Not literally she was at home, but she's always watching. Learning what kind of man her father is by what he does when no one's grading him. And I wanted her to grow up knowing that when someone needs help, you help. That's it. That's the whole philosophy. See someone who needs help. Help them. Don't make it complicated. The room was silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. And Caleb stepped away from the microphone feeling like maybe, possibly, he'd said something that mattered. After the press conference, after the photos and the interviews and the promises to change the world, one intervention at a time, they gathered at Caleb's apartment. The space had evolved over the summer, Valerie's things mixed with his, creating something that wasn't quite his place or hers, but theirs. Richard and Eleanor came bringing wine that probably cost more than Caleb's monthly rent. Sophia came with her girlfriend, a teacher from Amara's school. Mrs. Chen made enough dumplings to feed an army. Torres showed up with his wife and kids. Even Marco from the café stopped by. They crammed into the small space, talking and laughing, the boundaries between wealth and working class, dissolving in the shared warmth of celebration. Amara held court from the couch, telling everyone about her first day of second grade, with the confidence of someone who knew she was loved. As the evening wound down and people started leaving, Valerie pulled Caleb onto the small balcony that overlooked the street. The city lights spread below them. Harbor Gate at night, all possibility and promise. "I have something for you," Valerie said. "Last thing, I promise no more surprises after this." "I'm getting used to the surprises." She handed him a small velvet box. Caleb's heart stopped. "It's not what you think," Valerie said quickly. "I mean, it is kind of, but not open it." Inside was a key, simple brass ordinary, with a small tag attached. "Home is wherever we choose it to be." "I bought a house," Valerie explained in a rush. "Nothing crazy. 3 bedrooms, yard, good school district. 10 minutes from here, so you're still close to the community center. And I know it's fast and maybe presumptuous, but I thought maybe we could move in together. Yeah, all 3 of us, if you want. If Amara wants. If it's not too—" Caleb kissed her, stopping the anxious spiral. When they broke apart, he was smiling. "Let me guess. You already decorated a room with butterflies. And a workshop in the garage. And a garden, because Eleanor said every home needs growing things. And—" She stopped. "Is that a yes?" "That's a let's ask Amara, and probably yes." They went back inside to find Amara had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from excitement. Caleb carried her to bed while Valerie said goodbye to the last guests. When he emerged, the apartment was quiet. Valerie sat on the floor, leaning against the couch, looking at the key in her hand. "What are you thinking?" Caleb asked, sitting beside her. "That 6 months ago I was eating lunch alone in a café thinking that was all I deserved, that I'd accepted loneliness as the price of wealth. And now—" She looked around at the aftermath of the party. "Now I have this. Us. Family. People who show up not because of my name, but because they actually like me. We do more than like you." "I know. That's the terrifying part." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "I love you, Caleb Reyes. I've been trying to find the right time to say it, and there isn't one, so I love you. I love your daughter. I love your stubborn independence and your carpenter hands and the way you make me want to be better." "I love you too. Have for weeks. Was just waiting for you to catch up." She laughed, the sound bright and free. "Typical. Always ahead of me." They sat there as the city quieted around them, 2 people who'd found each other through pure chance, or divine intervention, or cosmic alignment, whatever force brought single fathers and lonely billionaires together in coffee shops, and gave them both the courage to reach for something real. 2 years later, on a Saturday morning in October, Caleb stood in the backyard of their house, the one Valerie had bought, the one they'd made theirs, watching Amara and 3 other kids from the Safe Spaces youth program build birdhouses under his instruction. The workshop had expanded beyond his wildest dreams. 5 cities now. 17 training sites. Thousands of people learning to intervene, to step up, to be the help someone needs. Valerie emerged from the house carrying lemonade, her hair in a messy bun, wearing jeans and one of Caleb's old work shirts. She'd officially become chairman of King Holdings 6 months ago. Richard had retired to travel with Eleanor. And somehow, impossibly, Valerie had made it work, running a company, building a foundation, being present for every school play and soccer game and lazy Sunday morning. "How's the workshop going?" she asked, setting down the tray. "Great. These kids are naturals. Maya's already asking about carpentry school. We should fund scholarships, through the foundation, vocational training for kids who want to build things." "We should." Caleb pulled her close. "But right now, we should enjoy this perfect day." Amara ran over, covered in sawdust and grinning. "Daddy, Valerie? Look what I made." She held up a birdhouse, lopsided but sturdy, painted in bright colors with careful detail. On the side, she'd written, "Safe space for birds." Valerie knelt down, examining it seriously. "This is museum-quality work. The Smithsonian's going to call." "Really?" "Well, maybe not the Smithsonian, but definitely our mantle." Amara beamed and ran back to show the other kids. Caleb and Valerie stood watching her arms around each other, the October sun warm on their faces. "You know what I realized?" Valerie said quietly. "What?" "That morning at the cafe when you stepped in, you weren't just saving me from some jerk. You were saving me from myself, from the belief that I had to handle everything alone, that accepting help meant weakness." She turned to look at him. "You taught me that the bravest thing is letting people in, building something together, choosing love even when it's complicated." "Pretty sure you taught me that too. I was so scared of needing anyone, of being vulnerable, of failing Amara by loving someone who might leave." Caleb brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You stayed, even when it was hard. Even when the whole world was watching, you chose us, every single day. Because you're my home, both of you. Not the house, not the money, not the foundation. This, right here. This chaos and laughter and sawdust and love." Somewhere in the house, Caleb's phone rang with what was probably a work call. Sophia would be texting soon about tomorrow's training session. Amara would need help with homework later. The dishwasher was making that sound again. Real life in all its mundane glory waited. But right now, in this perfect moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was the woman in his arms who'd seen him at his most ordinary and chosen him anyway. The daughter laughing with friends in a yard she'd helped plant. The home they'd built together, not perfect, not a fairy tale, but absolutely, completely real. "Hey," Caleb said softly. "Hey. Marry me." Valerie pulled back to look at him, eyes wide. "What?" "Marry me. Not because we have to. Not for the optics or the company or any rational reason. Marry me because I want to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. Officially. In front of everyone. No more hiding, no more doubt. Just us. What do you say?" Tears spilled down Valerie's cheeks. "I say that's the worst proposal ever. No ring covered in sawdust, your daughter's probably listening from 20 feet away. Is that a no?" "That's a yes, you ridiculous man. Of course it's a yes. It's been yes since you handed me back my panic button and didn't ask for anything in return. It's been yes since you put Amara first even when it cost you. It's been yes since the moment I realized that good people still exist, and I was lucky enough to find one." Caleb kissed her as their daughter cheered from the workshop, and the other kids whooped, and Sophia, because of course Sophia was there, probably lurking in the kitchen, started making calls about engagement announcements and PR strategy and all the things that came with loving someone in the public eye. But none of that mattered. Not really. What mattered was this: a carpenter and a billionaire building a life together, one choice at a time. Teaching a little girl that love wasn't about money or status or fairy tale endings. Love was showing up. Love was stepping in when someone needed help. Love was choosing each other every single day, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. And in a world that tried to make everything transactional, tried to reduce people to their bank accounts and social media presence and marketability, they'd found something that couldn't be bought or sold or packaged for consumption. They'd found real, messy and complicated and absolutely perfectly undeniably real. And that, Caleb thought, as he held his family close, was worth everything.